If you've ever been disappointed watching mistake after mistake after mistake in a huge soccer game, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. It is Tuesday. U.S. is eliminated from the World Cup, but we are all still active traders in this market, and we have another day ahead of us today. Stop me if you've heard this before, but that trend line is providing resistance. We're going to go ahead and check that out. We also have what looks like maybe the first cracks in some of these hardware AI names, maybe on the back of Samsung. We're going to look into all of that. It is Tuesday, which means it's a T3 Tuesday, so we got another great T3 guest lined up for you here today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Tuesday edition for July 7th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. I hope that you all had a better night, a better Monday night than the men's national team. That is for sure. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here. And check it out. Ed is first here today. You did it, Ed. Early bird gets the worm. Ed is first. Welcome back, buddy. Derek, good morning. It's great to see you again, as always. Welcome back. Yes, that girl. Good morning. Welcome back. Always good to see you, too. Crispy Biscuit and Francis, welcome back. Brian, locked in and ready to go. Good morning, boss. Reaching Financial Freedom and Richard Judge, welcome back. Jay Wild and Wiss, welcome back. Robert and Producer, welcome back. Matthew, it's good to see you again. Pot G, good afternoon, Benzie buddies. Good afternoon to you, Pot G. Gotta say, Belgium just completely outclassed the United States yesterday. They wanted that game, and they showed it. A lot to be proud of for you and your team, especially going on to the next round. So congratulations. Hope that you enjoyed that. Liam, good morning. Welcome back. Sergeant Sexy, good morning. Welcome back. He's here for the music. Well, I hope that's not the case, because I think the music is done now, and we want to keep you around. We don't want you to go anywhere. Good morning. Welcome back, boss. Daniel, good morning. Welcome back. Dye the River Green. Boy, we're going to have to wait till March for that. Corey, good morning. It's great to see you. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. HP Darkside Hemi, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, great to see you again. It seems the semiconductor sector is weak. We're going to talk about that. And it actually seems like maybe software names firming up here. Maybe a rotation again. We shall see. Brett, welcome back. Good to see you again, Brett. Glad you're joining us again here. Hope all is well. Zach McCracken, good morning. Welcome back. You feeling better today, Zach? I sure hope so. Unpopular Truth, good morning. Welcome back. Alvin, good morning. Welcome back. Nights Lance, good morning. Welcome back. Kelly, good morning. Welcome back. Linda, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, we will talk a little bit more about the hardware there. I certainly don't think it's over, but this dip could keep going. We'll see. We'll take a look at that. And actually, our T3 guest, we're going to ask about that. We're going to ask about the momentum trade, where it goes next, and what targets to look at. That's for sure. Just passing through. Good morning, Cam. Good morning, Cam. Well, I tell you yesterday, I love that you took that Micron short. I love the thesis that you laid out, and you are being rewarded here today. Hats off to you. Good morning. Parvez, good morning. Welcome back. Maverick, good morning. Webcoin, good morning. Robert, the game was awful. Belgium could have won by 10. Just an embarrassing game. I totally agree. Just like silly mistakes that they just haven't made all tournament. They were obviously hesitant. They were obviously nervous. Did not go well. That is for sure. But 2030's our year? Question mark. Well, Dirkus, good morning. Welcome back. Peter, good morning. Robot to Trade, good morning. Drew, good morning. Jim, good morning. Creation, good morning. Dimebag, good morning. Crankbait, good morning. Carlos, good morning. And Tyler, good morning. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures are mixed ahead of Tuesday's open here. S&P futures are up off the overnight lows, but still holding down by 0.16%. The Dow is the one that's up here. That's bucking the trend, up 0.28%. And the Nasdaq also falling nearly 1%, down 0.9%. 0.97% as we sit here now. We'll see what happens if it continues to firm up before the open here. Nasdaq still holding near the lows. Dow looks strong. S&P off the lows, but as we're about to check out here, not yet in a very critical space. We're still just kind of in the same area we've been. We're still just kind of trading sideways. Let's go ahead and take a look at some cues from last session and where we may end up going here today, or what we have on deck here for today. Information technology, communication services were among the top gainers, while healthcare, real estate, and utility stocks recorded the biggest losses on Monday, leading most sectors on the S&P 500 to close on a negative note. Amid a rebound chips in stocks, U.S. stocks settled higher on Monday, with the Nasdaq Composite gaining more than 1% during the session. U.S. stock futures mixed here on Tuesday as the Dow rose while the Nasdaq and S&P fell following the higher close on Monday. On Monday, President Trump said the federal government has deposited the first $1,000 into more than 500,000 newly created Trump accounts, launching a program aimed at giving eligible American newborns an early start in investing. He also announced that Walmart, ticker WMT, will be significantly reducing prices at the request of his administration. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.5%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.13%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show that the markets are pricing in a 74.9% likelihood that the Federal Reserve leaves the current interest rates unchanged during the July meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you, and the first one is actually going to be SpaceX. Ticker is SPCX, and it was 2.14% lower after it joined the Nasdaq-100 index just 15 days after its stock market debut, despite expectations of billions in passive investment flows. And we'll see if that turns around here. The next two stocks in this one are actually going to be Micron and Ford. Your tickers here are MU and ticker F, respectively. Micron tumbled 5.37%, and Ford was down 0.072% after both companies announced a long-term strategic customer agreement on Monday. Under the agreement, Micron will expand production of key automotive memory solutions to help secure the supply chain for Ford's next-generation vehicles. The next stock on our list is Rivian, and this reversing its turn here. Rivian, ticker RIVN, dropped 7.7% as it announced an underwritten public offering of up to 75 million shares of common stock. It also reported impressive second quarter production and delivery figures, surpassing its own expectations. The next stock on our list is going to be RxSight, and the ticker is RXST. It was 1.6% lower as it sees second quarter revenue of 32 to 34 million and fiscal year 2026 revenue of 140 to 160 million. It also announced a non-exclusive collaboration with Alcon to jointly develop adjustable presbyopia correcting in intraocular lenses. Easy for me to say. The last stock on our list is going to be Penguin Solutions, and the ticker is PENG, P-E-N-G. It fell 1.8% as analysts expected to report earnings of 54 cents per share on revenue of $405.53 million after the closing bell today. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart here, and it is pretty much the same thing. We either have a day that looks like we're going to trade down or we're going to trade up, but we still stay in the same range here, and that's what's happening. So yesterday's day, we basically traded up to the trend line, and let me tell you something. It really depends on how you draw your lines here, but you can see that technically we ended up closing above it. But I think if I had drawn my line just a little bit differently, we would not have closed above it. The reality is that the market went to that area, found some resistance there, tried to actually break it going into the close, but pulled back right before the close. If we go back to the daily where you don't get this type of granular view, I think the story is more accurately told. We traded up to resistance. We couldn't break the resistance yesterday, and so we start today, and we'll see where we end up going. Now, the SPY is slightly down, but it's very, very close to unchanged. I have this really, I think that this 750 to 752 is really kind of representing the resistance area. If you want to tighten that to 750 to 751, that makes sense based on some of the areas that we tested. But just kind of as a reminder, we did print a high above that yesterday. Yeah, we printed it in the 752 handle. So I'd really like to see this whole area of 750 to 752 get cleared out and then move above. If that happens, I think that squarely puts the all-time highs in sight. And I think we will probably go challenge that. Can we end up breaking that? I'm not too sure. Now, as far as if we find resistance at this trend line and we end up trading back down, I still think you're looking at 740. We obviously have 741.35 here, which represents the 20-day moving average. So I actually think we've got a little bit of space to move back down. We'll see if yesterday's lows end up giving us a level. So I'd be looking at probably right in here, 747.5. We'll see if that gives us any type of support if the market does want to take a little bit of a breather here today. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts and see what they think about what's going on. According to Dean Chen, the U.S. stock market and broader economy are entering a new phase defined by heightened monetary policy uncertainty as the Federal Reserve pivots away from traditional forward guidance towards a strict data-dependent approach. Chen notes that because the Fed is, quote, reducing reliance on forward guidance, end quote, market expectations will now hinge entirely on real-time data rather than some of the preset signals. Consequently, Chen expects increased market turbulence, warning that policy uncertainty may drive higher volatility around inflation and employment releases, end quote. Without the smoothing effect of forward guidance, asset prices will become far more sensitive to macroeconomic indicators. No word yet if the task force is going to change any of that. Compounding this volatility are external pressures. Chen highlights that Middle East tensions return as oil markets balance geopolitical risks and stable supply, which could impact energy, cost, and inflation. Additionally, international factors like Japan's weak yen and fiscal strain will keep demand for U.S. dollar assets elevated. Ultimately, Chen expects a cautious, highly reactive environment for U.S. markets, where investors must closely parse incoming liquidity conditions and economic growth data to gauge market direction. So we'll see where we end up going here. We'll see how much impact the Fed actually has. We'll see if this forward guidance leads to more volatility. We still expect volatility around Fed days, and I don't think that changes. And so I would imagine that even with less words or less guidance, they're still going to be hanging on whatever Warsh ends up saying, especially early on here. I would imagine there's still kind of a feeling out process that's going on, and that definitely is going to lead to volatility. Just as a reminder here, no data here today. We expect some more tomorrow, but today we are data free. Now, let's get to the big story, which I think is impacting the technology market here. Samsung stock tanks in Seoul, even as the company reports record preliminary Q2 operating profit of $58.4 billion. Now, we're seeing some of the other stocks like Micron is trading down on this, SanDisk is trading down on this. So I really think that this is kind of leading to where we are here in the morning. We'll see if these stocks have enough strength to kind of firm up on their own, but this is what's going on here. On Monday, Samsung Electronics, which is on the OTC with ticker SSNLF, posted record preliminary second quarter earnings, underscoring the strength of the AI-driven memory chip market despite higher employee compensation costs. Samsung said its preliminary operating profit for the April to June quarter reached 89.4 trillion won, or 58.4 billion USD, and that's up from 57.2 trillion yuan, or 37.58 billion USD. And that was in the first quarter, and 4.68 trillion won, or 3.07 billion USD in the same period as last year. The South Korean technology giant also reported preliminary revenue of 171 trillion yuan, or 11.23 billion USD, compared to the 8.79 billion USD in the previous quarter, or the 4.9 billion USD a year earlier. The results mark a sharp turnaround from last year's performance and represent one of Samsung's strongest quarterly showings to date. Over the past 5 days, Samsung shares have fallen 12.18%, but the stock remains up 108.33% over the past 6 months and has surged 376.09% over the past year. Analysts noted that the preliminary figures already account for one-time expenses tied to employee bonus provisions following recent labor negotiations, as reported by CNBC. Earlier this year, Samsung reached an agreement with its labor union to eliminate the previous bonus cap of 1,000% of base salary. Under the new arrangement, the company will allocate 10.5% of its operating profit towards employee bonuses, ending a dispute that followed weeks of union protests seeking a larger share of the company's earnings. The announcement represents Samsung's preliminary earnings guidance and includes only top-line revenue and operating profit figures. The company is scheduled to release its full second quarter earnings report on July 30th, when it will provide a detailed breakdown of results across its business divisions, including its semiconductor, mobile, and consumer electronic businesses. So again, this is just preliminary, but it's very clearly having an impact on some of the stocks over here. Really, I guess the big thing to kind of keep on watch is what happens on July 30th when we get the full earnings report and the breakdown of the other divisions. How does that go here? And what kind of impact does that have on some of the other stocks in this sector? So we'll see. This is what's weighing on it here today. We'll see if this is enough to carry into the New York session. We'll see if we can maybe reverse this. We've often talked about how it seems to be easier to trade on gap down days versus gap up days. A caveat there is unless it just keeps getting pounded all day. So we'll see how this ends up shaking out. And then the other thing, we will continue to take a look and see if there is any rotation out of some of these names into ones like software names or something like that, which we've seen before. All right. Now let's take a look at Rivian here. And you know what? Let's actually go to Pro real quick. We'll take a look at the Rivian chart. Several of our traders here have been trading this. It's made a great move recently. It actually was like breaking out from this sideways formation. Looked like we were probably going to try some of these recent highs. This was back from 2025, right? Yeah, December of 2025. And we pushed away from the trend line. So everything was looking good, but down 10.6% here on the offering news. Here's what it looks like inside. So first of all, the offering news that we got yesterday completely erased the gains and actually erased some of the gains from Thursday of last week. The pre-market here sure looks like we're going to trade lower. So I think our next level here is probably 1730s. And then maybe 1680. Caveat to that round 17 number seems to catch these stocks quite often. But we'll see where Rivian ends up going. The one thing I would like to ask here, especially for those that are trading Rivian, I suppose if you have a long-term view and you're investing in it, the day-to-day things here with the offering don't really matter. But if you're trading this in the short term, what's the reload spot? Are we looking for maybe a pullback or like a hold here of this 18, which is exactly where we're at here in the pre-market? So if Rivian can hold here, does it look like we're still possibly breaking out here? If this sells off, maybe fills the gap and then rebounds today, does that induce more buyers? You folks will have to let me know how you think about the Rivian trade itself. Let's take a look at some of the news here from the offering. Rivian Automotive, or ticker RIVN's stock price fell on Tuesday after the company announced a public offering of 75 million shares of its Class A common stock. The capital raise took place during extended trading, overshadowing positive preliminary delivery figures from the previous week and introducing concerns regarding stock dilution. The underwritten public offering consists of up to 75 million shares of common stock, with all shares being sold by Rivian Automotive. Additionally, the company intends to grant underwriters a 30-day option to purchase up to an additional 11.25 million shares at the public offering price, which remains undisclosed. Based on the last closing price of 2014, Rivian could raise as much as $1.74 billion in gross proceeds, assuming all 86.25 million shares are sold at the last closing price. Rivian stated it expects to use the net proceeds for general corporate purposes, including funding certain equity contributions under amended and restated loan arrangements and reimbursement and sponsor support agreements with the U.S. Department of Energy. Rivian ended the first quarter with approximately $4.83 billion in cash equivalents, and short-term investments. The offering follows an announcement on Thursday where Rivian reported its second quarter production and delivery data. The American EV maker produced 12,613 vehicles and delivered 12,194 units at its manufacturing facility in Normal, Illinois, for the quarter ending June 30th. Deliveries exceeded the company's previous outlook of 9,000 to 11,000 vehicles, supported by growth in EDV and R1 vehicles alongside the start of R2 deliveries. Rivian ended the first quarter with $4.83 billion in cash equivalents, and short-term investments, as mentioned. Consequent to the second quarter results, Rivian adjusted its full year 2026 delivery guidance upward, moving from an initial estimate of 62,000 to 67,000 vehicles to a projection of 65,000 to 70,000 vehicles. The company is scheduled to report its official second quarter 2026 financial results after the market closes on July 30th. Wall Street analysts currently estimate a loss per share of 79 cents on quarterly revenue of $1.44 billion. Prior to the announcement, short interest in the electric vehicle manufacturer had risen from 144.87 million shares to 150.29 million shares during its latest reporting period. The short interest accounts for 14.59% of the company's publicly available float and representing a days to cover ratio of 4.48% based on an average daily trading volume of 33.55 million shares. So simply put, the short interest is still elevated there, but it's not high by either of our metrics. That float is going to continue to increase as they offer more shares. So let me know what you think on Rivian. Are you trading this? Are you looking to trade this? Are you looking to buy it now that the offering has kind of brought us back down to the breakout price? Are you watching that breakout level to see what happens next? Curious on how you folks are all handling this. All right. Next here, Morgan Stanley initiates SpaceX coverage and sees nearly 90% upside. So we talked about SpaceX joining the Nasdaq-100, doing it 15 days after the stock makes its public debut. Is that going to force more buying here? SpaceX actually a little bit red. It closed at 160.42 at 160.06 here in the pre-market. Let's see what's going on here. Morgan Stanley, ticker MS, but Morgan Stanley analyst Adam Jones began coverage of the Elon Musk Space Exploration Technologies Company, or SpaceX, ticker SPCX, showing a price target of $300 per share for the commercial spaceflight giant. In a new note released on Monday, Jonas predicted a bull case of $300 per share for SpaceX, a nearly 87.5% upside from its current price of around $160 per share. The analyst also predicted that SpaceX could report revenue of $319 billion by the end of the decade, as well as $3.3 trillion by 2040. Now, I just want to say this, I can see this. I can see this happening with all the things that SpaceX is getting involved in, especially on the AI front. But I just want to point out that a lot of these revenue figures or these revenue figures regarding earnings, they're all way out in the future. No one's talking about what revenue they're going to do at this first one, or even a couple of earnings reports later this year and early next year. It's by 2030 and by 2040. And to me, that assumes that we're going to have some big event in between there. There's going to be a lot of growth in between there. And maybe that's true. I'm not sure what to expect out of it, but I'm really curious as to what these first earnings are going to do. I think that's really going to set the tone, and whether or not people see the vision for this. It all just seems far away. Those are eye-popping numbers, but that's 15 years away. Jonas predicted that long-term, SpaceX would adopt an end-to-end AI model while also recording $4 billion in annual revenue through Cursor. The analyst also sees a majority of SpaceX's CapEx spending, quote, directed towards terafab, solar fab, and other vertical integration efforts, end quote. That would drive both dollar per watt and time on power on Earth. However, SpaceX would eventually move to space-based AI compute. Quote, while we are believers in the advantage of space-based AI infrastructure over the long term, we also think the market underappreciates SpaceX's terrestrial AI economics, end quote. Again, that came from Jonas. For Starship, Jonas said that the firm sees, quote, a path to launch costs of about $500 per kilogram by 2030 and below $150 per kilogram by 2040, end quote. These are both contingent on successful testing and rapid reusability of both the first and second stages of the rocket. Quote, Starship, V3 broadband satellites, and mobile Gen 2 satellites should significantly expand available capacity, end quote. And he was saying that about Starlink. He added that in the long term, he sees the service, quote, becoming a connectivity layer for virtually every data transmitting device that requires reliable coverage beyond the reach of terrestrial infrastructure. SpaceX could require $300 billion in CapEx annually by 2031. And Jonas said this, meaning that it wouldn't have positive free cash flow before 2035, adding that the greater risk to the forecast was needing $84 billion of external capital per year between 2027 and 2034. And this is what I mean. Like some of these revenue figures, really great. And if they hit it, absolutely fantastic. But in the meantime, there's a lot of CapEx. And what are they going to do instead in the meantime? Quote, SpaceX combines near monopoly launch economics, the world's largest LEO satellite network, and a fast scaling AI infrastructure business, end quote. With the largest upside tied to Starship, Starlink capacity, and terrestrial and orbital compute. The comments come as SpaceX will enter the Nasdaq-100 on Tuesday, being one of the fastest index inclusions in history. The entry would trigger billions in forced buying as index funds and ETFs tracking the benchmark would be required to buy SpaceX. Meanwhile, SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell announced that she and her husband would be donating SpaceX shares to President Trump's Trump accounts for over 2 million children aged 11 to 17 from lower average household incomes. So nice add on there. Definitely great. But really, my question is, how long till we start seeing some of the eye-popping numbers that SpaceX is trying to promise us? I'm not even, I get looking out into the future. That's fine. I just hope that there's something along the way that's going to make this look like they can achieve those. We'll see. We'll have an open mind. Remember, we get that first earnings report at the beginning of August. So we're going to learn a lot then. There's no question. All right. I didn't see Lion Atlas here today, but I did really want to talk about this story here about copper. I think a lot of these commodities and materials we're going to keep watching. I know copper's kind of already been on the list for a long time and already kind of been on a huge run here. And we're going to keep our eyes on this. We're going to keep our eyes on this entire trade. But we'll see. When speculative enthusiasm outpaces underlying physical reality, the market becomes more fragile. 2026 has already seen such a pattern play out with Bitcoin, U.S. natural gas, gold, silver, even crude oil is showing similar symptoms, although with far stronger geopolitical implications. But according to experts, copper may be the next in line to face such a risk. The risk is particularly important because copper has carried one of the strongest structural stories in commodities: electrification, renewable power, grid expansion, electric vehicles, and artificial intelligence infrastructure have all been used to justify higher prices. A softening industrial picture, a rising correlation with U.S. technology stocks, and vulnerability to equity market drawdowns all suggest that copper's future has not yet arrived. Financial infrastructure provider StoneX believes the current copper rally has had the investment narrative shift well ahead of the physical demand. Quote, The quantity of demand is less than 2% for copper, stemming from AI and data centers, end quote. That came from Natalie Scott Gray, senior metals analyst, highlighting the gap between enthusiasm and actual consumption. That figure matters because AI has become one of the dominant explanations for copper's resilience. The metal is trading around $6.19 per pound, up 8.35% year to date. And it is outpacing Global X Copper Miners ETF, or the COPX, which is up 7.42% in the same period. StoneX also notes that copper's correlation with U.S. technology stocks has reached its highest level since 2012. The correlation makes the metal unusually sensitive to shifts in the technology sector sentiment. The concern is not that copper lacks long-term demand support, but that speculative capital has aggressively front-run that support, leaving prices exposed to abrupt corrections. Mike McGlone, senior commodity strategist at Bloomberg Intelligence, views the current environment through the lens of a broader cyclical purge. He believes the multiple markets have benefited from speculative excess and have now fallen towards supply and demand reality. According to the next interview, copper might be next. Quote, copper's main risk is if the stock market goes down because it's a complete sock puppet to the stock market at this moment. It only goes up when stocks go up. When stocks go down, it goes down more, end quote. The second half of the year is therefore central to McGlone's outlook. He argues that if the U.S. stock market experiences a typical cyclical downturn or a midterm election correction, commodities could face, quote, pretty severe deflation, end quote. In that scenario, copper would be especially vulnerable. Unlike gold, which can draw on central bank demand and reserve diversification, or oil, which has clearer inventory and supply dynamics, copper's recent strength has leaned heavily on equity market confidence and long-term electrification assumptions. Still, short-term weakness would not invalidate copper's long-term thesis, but for investors who are now paying a premium for demand that may arrive after years, there is little margin for disappointment. And so this is kind of what I wanted to discuss here. Do we think copper is still worth buying here? This article does a really good job of outlining that the premium that you pay in the market is well above what's actually being delivered. And as a result, somewhere in the future, although it's not pinned down in terms of its date, but somewhere in the future, we are going to have a correction and perhaps even a big one. We'll see. All right, let's go back to Pro here. It's Tuesday. It's a T3 Tuesday. We're going to talk to our T3 guest. Let's go ahead and bring on our friend, Charlie Moon. Charlie, good morning. Welcome back. How you doing, man?
Good morning. Good morning. Doing great, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'd be doing better if the U.S. played a competitive game last night, but that's neither here nor there. I will say, I wanted to ask you feeling more and more in your regular routine now that you've moved in here?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get the office set up. I still need the background fixed up, but the space station's ready to go. It's nice and cool when the days are really hot out here in Colorado, so it's a nice transition when my previous office just had sunlight just blasting in all day.
I know how that goes. That's actually with the situation with my living room right now, and it is always warm. Look, Charlie, I actually think this is really good timing for another appearance here. We've talked a lot about momentum in the past, and I was just reporting on how Samsung gave some preliminary earnings figures or revenue figures, and it looks like that's pulling down some of the momentum names. So I was hoping we could talk about some of these and maybe what we'd be looking at for potential trades here today.
Yeah, 100%. DRAM is definitely going to be on watch, the ETF. There's a lot of hype around, the chips this week with SK Hynix coming out Friday,
Yep, that too.
debuting on Nasdaq. And what's been pretty interesting is the overall kind of rotation we've been seeing. And it's been fast, and I don't think people have realized it, but if it's not the chips one day, it's the SaaS plays the next, and you could kind of see it this morning. And this is something that I'd said to one of my colleagues yesterday. that the Mag 7 loves to go up when the markets are working lower. And the only way that I can explain that, well, with the exception of NVIDIA, is that it's almost a relief on the CapEx play, right? That's been the suppressive nature for names like Tesla, Meta,
Yep.
Microsoft, which are trading under their 200 SMA. But these stocks are moving higher in pre-market trading. Now is up 3%. We see Palantir catching a bid, which has been catching a bid since Michael Burry has disclosed on his Substack that he covered his short. And so you could see that we're seeing stocks that are tied to the SaaS plays, the cybersecurity names, the cloud names, enterprise services like CRM and Adobe. They're working up while the Nasdaq is down. The only way to explain that is that we see a rotation out of AI into these names, and it's almost as if the market is just, especially the market participants, are looking for names to buy in terms of value because the valuation for AI stocks are so high, and that money just rotates from the AI stocks, the chips, the fabricators, et cetera, into these cloud names when we see some weakness. And so, with the Samsung news, Micron is trading. I think they bombed below 950, and a lot of these names like Micron, MRVL, Intel are all trading below their short-term moving averages, and really directionally look like they're headed to test that 50 SMA, which, in my opinion, should be the levels that we're looking to buy the dips on these names.
Okay. Lot there. That was perfect. Oh, welcome, Charlie. Happy Tuesday. Join Charlie Moon today, 7 p.m. Eastern, for a live look at the 4-step AI strategy he uses to find highly profitable trade setups across the entire market in seconds. And folks, I know he's already given us a few to look at here, but be sure to check out the actual presentation itself. So you really just kind of skipped ahead to exactly what I was saying here. Everyone wants to know, where's the level to buy on Micron? Now, I completely agree with you. We talked about, hey, let's see what happens here at the 20. Well, it melted the 20, couldn't even possibly recapture it. We have multiple closes beneath the 20 now, which is something that I look for a previous support to turn to resistance and vice versa. I totally agree with you. It seems to me that the 50-day moving average is probably next here. And the other thing is that I know these stocks have been so gangbusters to the upside that any pullback is like, oh, this is so sad. But realistically, this is probably great for the stock, right? Like pulling back to the 50 here, finding some support, maybe even trading sideways for a day or even a few hours might not be bad for this trade, right?
No, actually, it's healthy.
Exactly.
When stocks start just only continually going up, and here's the cardinal rule: the higher it goes up, the more that it's going to drop, right? And so it's relative to the markets too, right? We're trading at these atmospheric levels, and so when we have a pullback, they almost seem like mini crashes. I mean, just date
Yeah.
back just 5 years ago, what would a 500 down day in the Nasdaq be viewed as? We've seen a couple of days where the Nasdaq has flashed negative 800, and people obviously should be concerned. They have really dramatic results on stocks when we see days like this. But that's the byproduct of stocks that have gained 100, 200, 300%, not since the start of the year, but since the start of March. And the balance is that when we see these big jumps, these pullbacks offer up greater upside. We don't want to be buying right into key technical levels. The one that you mentioned, that 20 SMA, I follow that plus the 21 EMA. And these are really critical levels because once stocks start losing this, the high probability of working towards the 50 really starts coming into the picture. And so when we start seeing the pullback, and then all of a sudden these levels are only 1, 2, 4% above us, we don't want to be trading right into these levels only just to see the reversal take place and then the stock gets pushed lower. So when we get that little separation on a deeper pullback, it affords the opportunity to buy in on value with upside without much interference. And that's a really important component for both short-term and longer-term trading. We don't want to trade into resistance. That's like trying to jump into a brick wall expecting to break it, only to be vastly disappointed and knocked back further than you would expect. So, this is healthy in my opinion. It's just a matter of exercising patience. The buyer euphoria is really, really strong. It's probably some of the strongest I've ever been around. I've always said to my students that I've never experienced the internet boom or bust, but this is probably what it was like. And, embrace it. This is where you could literally make generational wealth if you just time things properly and really just wait for your opportunity at the proper price.
Yeah, absolutely. Try to use that to your advantage there. And I like that analogy there about jumping into the brick wall. Yeah, I mean, you might want to get through it, and there might be a couple of times where you actually do go through it and then you rip your shirt off like Hulk Hogan and all of that. But I mean, that's not the common outcome, right? Like most times you jump into a brick wall, you get hurt.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to do that here.
Yeah, no, and people don't realize the value of technical analysis, right? Because that same level you were talking about in relation to that 20 SMA, well, this has been a level going back, let's see, dating on the 29th of June, the 24th of June, the June 12th, all the way to June 5th. This has actually been the zone that Micron has actually pivoted from and worked back higher, big bounces off of these levels. Well, what happens when the floor all of a sudden becomes the ceiling? This is something that I teach people, that when support becomes immediate resistance or vice versa, in this case, it would be support turning into immediate resistance. This should be viewed as very bearish. And you don't associate the word bearish with the name Micron.
That's
But
right.
listen, you hear about it all throughout history, that there's been plenty of kings that have lost their head. And, this is kind of one of that case where don't let the name, don't let the previous performance blind you on the near term. This is where people mistakenly get too aggressive, too eager. And then next thing you know, they're down, $80 per share, which
Yeah.
I guess with Micron, it isn't a terrible thing. But again, if people are trading short dated options, I mean, they're pretty much screwed at this point.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, and the thing is, like, sometimes, these stocks that go on these runs, we look at this pullback and we're like, okay, there's got to be support here. There's got to be support here. There's got to be support here. This stock is 500 points above its 200-day moving average. 500 points. The 200-day moving average is 451. I mean, it's gone on these crazy runs. Okay, so real good kind of breakdown on like thinking about all of this and where to go. So looking at some of these, is the play here to just kind of wait out and see what happens at the 50? To your point, maybe not just buying it right when it slaps the 50, but waiting out and seeing how it trades around it so we don't get a repeat of what happened at the 20?
Oh yeah, you have to. Again, you just never know when a stock is ready to turn. This is something similar that people are struggling with, which is the optics sector, right? We've seen these optic plays like Light or COHR or CIEN, AAOI. They pretty much went parabolic at the same time that
Yep.
Micron did. And over the last month and a half, all they've been is slowly working down, 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 and continually down. You look at the data center plays like IREN and HUT, where a lot of these names are now beyond their 50 SMA, and they're actually visiting the 200 simple moving average. Now, most of these names are generally tied to growth or in the basket of lower cap names. So I don't anticipate Micron losing the 50 and working down to the 200. But I'm sure people didn't anticipate that Amazon was going to do that at one point. People didn't anticipate that Microsoft is going to stay months underneath the 200 SMA. So, anything can happen. It's really important to see the price action. Obviously, you and a lot of buyers may be joining in, but the way that the market operates is the auction system. If there's more sellers than buyers, well, prices always depress, and that's the key component here. You definitely not only want to see other buyers joining in, but we need to see these buyers overwhelming these sellers that are looking to kind of short or squeeze the buyers through this level. It's very similar to what we saw in the Qs on Thursday, late Thursday. Typically that's a day where everything tends to die out an hour into trading. The Nasdaq melted down all day until they got to that 50. And as soon as they started holding that 50, they tapped it twice. And then, of course, they rebounded, opened up $12 yesterday. $12 higher yesterday off of that key level. So that's kind of the variable that I would be looking for. That's why I don't place limit orders and just hope that there's going to be a bounce. Prove it to me is really the way that I'm approaching this market right now.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think that's especially smart with some of these high flyers here. Look, I don't think these memory names are necessarily going anywhere. AI is not going anywhere, but there's a number of other things that could happen in the future that could bring some of these prices down. So we're gonna watch this. So all right, really good stuff. So it sounds like we're gonna kind of wait out some of these high flyer names to come in and see what they do at the 50. Let me ask you, do you see any rotation at the same time into some of the software names? This is,
Yeah.
I know that you just brought up Microsoft. I was looking at IGV. This is something our chat has been talking about too. What do you think here in terms of rotation? What else can we do while we wait out this move down to the 50?
You know, for me, a lot of people struggle playing to the downside, especially, it's hard to like talk yourself into shorting a stock that you probably made a lot of money to the upside. But remember, trading is trading. And for me, it's
Right.
always about opportunity and directionally, it's really important. If we're looking, let's say the market works lower, looking to the upside, what should we be looking at? Well, number one, IBM is the one that comes to my mind. IBM has been really, really strong since it's gotten above the 200-day moving average. These are names that I call the Trump bump. Yesterday, we had Dell. President Trump came out and said everybody should buy a Dell computer. Dell started ripping to the upside. So IBM, he mentioned that. He basically mentioned that he wished he had IBM in his portfolio. IBM has been going up since. I think Palantir above 137 is really critical to watch. I think this is where we could see that boost towards 157. Now, ever since they've had their hacking news, the price has been suppressed. Full disclosure, I'm long now right now. I'm looking to hit my first target at 114. We're up around $6, which isn't anything to write home about. But this is something that I have noticed that there's been some strength coming into this sector. And 100% out of the SaaS plays, the really consistent, the tried and the true, and more importantly, the strongest is the cybersecurity names. Palo Alto really stands out. Fortinet really stands out. I had a big play in Okta the other day. I think Zscaler, which is ZS and NET, these are the next two to watch. I believe Net, which is Cloudflare, was upgraded this morning. So, I feel like even when the market is being suppressed, especially with the way things have behaved, there's always opportunities to be a buyer if you're not comfortable being short, or taking shorts in the market. So, I would say keep an eye on names like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Meta, Tesla when the market is down, see how they perform. Keep an eye on names like CRM, Adobe, Palantir, Now, and the cybersecurity names, and of course, IBM. And you may be surprised at how well, even if the market is pulling down pretty hard, these stocks will generally move with it, but they'll rebound quicker or hold these levels a lot better than, let's say, the AI plays if the market's working lower.
Okay, let me ask you about one of those specific AI plays here. Let me ask you about NVIDIA. I'm not sure if we might have just talked about it in passing the last time we're here. NVIDIA moved down off of its highs, held the 200-day, not as extended as some of these other AI or AI adjacent plays here. A Chicago realtor, I know you wanted to talk about the NVIDIA here. It fell beneath the 200 SMA here this morning. 200 I have at 191.15, and I have the price this morning down 1.6% at 192.40. So it still looks like we're holding that today. What do you think here about NVIDIA? Is this one that's just kind of, I don't know, the Mo is just kind of slowed down here? Is it priced to perfection? What are your thoughts here on NVIDIA?
Well, I don't. It's difficult to say because even though people have concerns about valuation, how do you value a sector that, quite honestly, everybody thinks they know about but really have no idea about? Because the scale of growth has surprised everyone, including those that are working on AI. The acceleration is important, but part of the acceleration is utilized or really driven by inflow and capex, right? And when we have four companies accounting for nearly what, $750 billion dedicated for next year. This speaks volumes. And again, there may be concerns that Nvidia's technology is getting too far ahead of itself. We're talking about Blackwell, now we're talking about Vera, now they're talking about a new component. There's advancements in other technology that can make other components a little bit more efficient. So there may not be a need to upgrade to, Vera and whatnot. There's a sharp difference for me because NVIDIA also accounts for a lot of booking, let's say like Oracle does, but NVIDIA draws real revenue, where Oracle's still kind of looking for that type of revenue. I don't necessarily think that the 200 SMA is a guarantee to hold on this stock.
Got
It
it.
wouldn't surprise me to see the stock work lower. I believe there was some DeepSeek news today that's causing NVIDIA to work down, but I don't think they'll be actually below the 200 SMA for long. I think that people have this kind of God complex when it comes to the stock. But truth of the matter is, Nvidia hit a lower high reversal several months back. They've been losing their moving averages, and there's no reason, there's no business, so to speak, that Nvidia should be testing their 200-day moving average if Wall Street completely felt comfortable about the future valuation of the company. There's been nothing that's been exciting Nvidia or exciting Nvidia investors. A lot of the news is like, yeah, we hear you, Jensen. And I think an unspoken part of Nvidia is, at least, kind of the fundamentals, is that their expenditures are getting higher. They're taking a lot of their cash. They're investing more. They're investing into a lot of companies, whether it's small caps. We've heard a lot of news about Nokia, BlackBerry, but
Yep.
they're literally throwing $5 billion anywhere and into anything, whether it's robotics, whether it's into automation or autonomy for driving. And quite honestly, I think that's probably one of the things that Wall Street doesn't like, is that Nvidia is not really trying to hoard up a ton of cash, whether it's, for further acquisitions or development. They certainly have a very flush Kofor to kind of like lean on. And they certainly have more than enough cash at hand.
Mhm.
But we have seen the markets be very unkind to companies that are looking to start spending more than they traditionally would. And Micron actually just on their earnings announced that their capex is going up somewhere around 40-50% year over year, which is why I believe actually Micron has been working lower as opposed to higher. It's more that capex spend.
Okay, very interesting. And then just to kind of tie this up here, the news on NVIDIA regarding DeepSeek. Reports suggest China's DeepSeek is developing AI chips for inference, which reduces its reliance on NVIDIA. And I mean, that's a read through. It is what it is. Now, so one of the other stocks that you mentioned in there real quick was Oracle. And this is notable for me because Oracle has been pounded recently. We actually have been charting this off of a long-term trend line. This goes back to the middle of 2022, that it's used as support several times. And here we are. We're actually technically beneath it. But this morning, given what's going on here, we got the memory names down. We have even NVIDIA down on the DeepSeek news. Oracle's higher by 1%. And this thing, so I'm almost wondering here, do we think that there's maybe some relative strength here? Maybe the selling is overdone a little bit on Oracle. Maybe Oracle represents one of these that you could kind of look to the upside, where you're waiting for some of these other Momo names to come into their 50.
Yeah, they've been getting pretty much blitzed since their last earnings, but they're at a price, if you look back at the start of the year, where this 140 to 137 level, which I believe like 135 is their 52-week low. This has been, in my opinion, an accumulation level for institutions in Wall Street. That's the only way that you could explain how this stock has been able to hold this price going on all calendar year. Now, the problem is that they keep revisiting this price.
Yeah.
And so, there's just going to be so much demand that comes in. And as of now, when I looked at it yesterday, it was definitely defending that 140. And so I would say that's probably the key marker here, this 140, 135 price. They lose that level. I think I had it pinned at 125 from like a 3 or 5 year time frame. But if they hold this level again, this is one of those great upside plays, low risk, high reward. Oracle, it's been mixed. Typically, we've seen them, let's say about a month and a half ago, actually follow a lot of the SaaS plays higher, but we haven't necessarily seen that. So it'll be interesting if they bid up today. I think the key level that I'm watching is 154. That was where the 10 EMA is. And when stocks are kind of trending down, the first sign I look for is stocks starting to recover above the 10 EMA and then the 21 EMA, 20 SMA. Once they get to those levels, it's the same thought process like we would have on the downside. If they lose that level, they're headed towards that 50 SMA. And so you've seen it with a lot of stocks like Palantir. We've seen it in Hood over the last few weeks. A blast from the past that's really starting to catch my attention is Trade Desk, TTD. This is a stock that's been absolutely destroyed, but they have started peaking above that 10 EMA. And so they start recovering above that 21. Like I said, it doesn't guarantee they're going to run for that 50, but sequentially, historically, we have seen this run. I haven't used the 10 EMA outside of the last 2 years, but seeing the new dynamics of how the market has traded, how active it's been, how volatile it's been, how things have really shifted, the 10 EMA has played a very integral role on my daily chart. I strongly encourage people to start using it and using it as a gauge of short-term strength and weakness in stocks.
Okay, that's great. TTD, this is one that we used to look at all the time, really kind of fell off everyone's radar. As you said, this got blasted down really bad. One last thing here on Oracle. We've got an RPO backlog of $638 billion on Oracle. So I think it's safe to assume that at some point that revenue is going to keep rolling in, should be okay on all of that. Okay, folks, join Charlie Moon today at 7 p.m. Eastern for a live look at the 4-step AI strategy he uses to find highly profitable trade setups across the entire market in seconds. Charlie, we appreciate all of the time here today. Great stuff across the board. Keep up the good work, man. I can't wait to check in with you next time.
Brother, thank you for having me. Go Cubs.
Always go Cubs. Let's go. That's right. There we go. Go Cubs. Charlie Moon, everybody from T3. Awesome stuff, top to bottom. Gave you some things there. Be sure to check out that webinar later. Really, really good. Okay. What are we? How are we doing on time? 8:56. We're in good shape. Let me go ahead and do street tweets. Then we can probably do ticker time here, or bring in 13 for pre-market pulse. Let's go ahead and take care of street tweets. Okay, here's what I got for you today. This one comes from the Kobisi letter. This interest rates. Interest rates. U.S. small cap companies are facing a massive interest burden. Interest expense now accounts for 31% of EBITDA in Russell 2000 firms. That is the highest in the last 6 years. This percentage has more than doubled since 2020. By comparison, S&P 500 companies now carry interest expense equal to 6.7% of EBITDA. That's down 9.5% from 2020. This comes as about 30% of corporate debt in Russell 2000 companies is tied to floating rates compared to just 7% for S&P 500 companies. Meanwhile, a near record 40% of small cap companies in the index remain unprofitable. Small cap firms are in desperate need of lower rates. So you could think about this in terms of a trade in IWM if you wanted. Perhaps you own some small caps here. I know we've talked a lot about interest rates and what it's going to do. This is showing you real quick that this is going to be really, really important. And the other thing is if we get any indication from the Fed, and I know it might be tough now with the new chair, but if we get any indication that we are actually moving closer to lower interest rates, I think you can assume that small caps are going to benefit from that. And of course, the inverse is also true there. Okay. That does street tweets here. Let's go back to pro. Let's do some ticker time. We also will get 13 on here. Anne-Marie, jam-packed morning of news and tickers. Banger list for me to cover at our time together today. Folks, be sure to stick around. Looks like Anne-Marie's got a whole bunch of really good stuff there for it. But and then Eric, you want to take a look at Wolf? Let's do that. Let's do that here. You know what we'll do? We'll take a look at Wolf, but we'll also bring on 13. We'll get his opinion here. We'll throw him a curveball. He probably wasn't ready for that, Eric. So now we'll go ahead and throw him a curveball. Pre-market pulse starts right now. 13, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, everybody in the chat. How are you? Is everybody in the chat doing? I'm doing fine. Oh, we're looking at Wolf. Perfect. That was at the top of my list.
I love it, 13. I absolutely love it. We will do the movers list here, but sometimes I admit I get sidetracked. We start doing all this stuff. Some of you have very politely asked to take a look at a stock, and then I just forget. And I don't want to do that, Eric. I don't want to do that. So we'll take a look at Wolf here. Wolf down Wolf down 1.8%. This has actually been kind of volatile recently, and we just had some big news with this. So yesterday we had news in the morning that TeraWulf announces Anthropic lease as justified data campus and sale of majority interest in Abernathy joint venture to FluidStack. So this is a 20-year lease deal with Anthropic, and it signed an agreement to sell 50.1% stake in Abernathy's joint venture led by FluidStack. Now this morning we also had Needham maintaining their buy, raising their price target to 33. Rosenblatt maintained their buy, raised their price target to 30. So you actually got some more kind of good news here today. Wolf down, though, 1.7%. Here's what we have in Wolf. We actually drew this trend line. This is kind of a longer one. This goes back to 2024, and this connects a lot of those highs. We're basically falling back into this kind of, I almost want to call it a normal channel here, or a more normal channel. That's what it looks like to me. Much like some of the other names that are tied to the AI theme or the data center theme, we've talked about them really kind of losing their 20, maybe coming back into their 50. Some of them actually breach their 50. That's what we find here in Wolf. Can't get above the 50 yet. This seems like a fairly decent pullback here. I don't think the story's really changed here. I think maybe it could probably come in a little bit closer to 20. What do you think on Wolf here, 13?
Yeah, this does look like it could come in a little bit more. It has sank already quite a bit. Let me see here. It's exactly how much. So we did put in a low of almost about 30% off the high. So we're getting a little bit of a rebound off that. I did draw a trend line here to see if, because it's something I'm going to just putting out here to watch for, because it indicated that this was going to get rejected. Trying to recapture this, and you had the other moving averages in the way. If you want to draw it yourself, you can start with the March 31st lows, draw it through the May 19th lows, and we just lost this trend line, and we just back tested it yesterday, so that's sending it lower. I think this is the trend line you're going to watch to recapture. Could be a while before that happens. I still think that there's some more downside to be had. I do like that $20 area. Yeah. If that doesn't have the support, 18 looks good too.
Okay. All right, there you go, Eric. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. I actually can't. I know I try to do my best job to remember how you folks think about certain stocks. But Eric, I can't remember here, so let me know what your outlook is here on Wolf, or what you're looking to do with this thing. 13, thanks for handling the curveball there. That was perfect.
No problem.
I've seen a whole bunch of those.
One of the moving average to watch for, since this seems to be kind of keeping the price up for since June of last year, is the 20-week SMA. That's just something else to watch for. If we lose that, and we have like 3 or 4 weeks where we close underneath it, I think that's going to spell some more downside for you. But you can see how the price has been just leaning on this for support ever since June last year.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff there on Wolf. You ready to do the movers list?
Sure, and it's not going to be a great list.
No, it isn't. And it's going to start off with a nothing burger because it's a buyout.
Yeah, exactly.
Eric, I had asked you, okay, thank you. Currently holding it, waiting for at least 26 again. Okay, so you're not even waiting for those all-time highs. You're basically waiting for the 20-day moving average. So Eric, that actually lines up quite nicely with the trend line that we got rejected at yesterday. So we'll see if we're able to trade back up to that trend line there. Okay, glad we broke that down. Glad you asked about that. That is perfect. Let's go over to the movers list. Here, this is what I was alluding to. You're the first one at the top of the list, up 98.83%. CRNX. This is Crinetics Pharmaceuticals. This is a buyout. So this company is being acquired by Vertex Pharmaceuticals. That's ticker VRTX. Congrats if you had this. This is probably a really good day for you as your equity is up almost 100%. But nothing here for trades. Now, 13, as far as things we can actually kind of break down to trade here today, what do you have off this movers list that we should start with?
Well, probably could start and end with it because I was looking at a couple of things here, including one that made me scratch my head, something called Starlink AI Acquisition Corporation. Nothing to do with SpaceX, by the way. So I took a quick look at that one to see what that was about. It's a blank check company. So
what's the ticker? Let's just look at it real quick.
OTAI. The thing that's up right now is the rights. That's OTAI small r, but you can just look at OTAI because that's the blank check company. And they're looking for some kind of company to acquire that's in the space or satellite, theme, or even Bitcoin. They're basically looking to acquire companies that, in the same way that SpaceX is currently picking up companies. They have their AI angle. They have that Cursor parent company. They have Starlink. They have launch vehicles. They have all kinds of stuff. And looks like this blank check company is trying to pick up something in that space, one of those spaces.
Blank check company incorporated in the Cayman Islands and is exempted from limited liability.
Yep.
Okay. That to me feels like they're just trying to piggyback off Starlink.
Oh, yes.
That's literally my only takeaway from this thing.
And I think that you could end up seeing a lot of SPACs start to appear that have space-related names, maybe even SpaceX-related names. Like they might have X in the name, or they might have Star something, or like Starliner, or Star, things like that. So keep an eye out for this strangeness, I guess we'll call it for now.
Yeah, Anne-Marie says, what could go wrong?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I learned very early on in this trading career about how companies do some of this stuff. This is not quite the same thing, and I know we've talked about this before, but obviously, like, everybody knows Tesla, right? Super popular stock. Well, there's what I like to call Tesla's doppelganger, ticker TLSA, and I make mistakes like this all the time. So to me, it just seems like that company's trying to piggyback off Starlink. What's that?
Buzzwords are
buzzwords. Buy my Cayman stock.
Remember when we were we're trading all these AI names because they had AI in the ticker, or they had some kind of AI in the name. So here I could see it be the same thing here with SpaceX now on the market. We could see a whole bunch of these different companies start to pop up that have some kind of reference to their businesses.
And then Nikhil, this is actually another example. I forgot about this. Didn't this happen around COVID with Zoom? Yeah, everyone was using Zoom, ticker ZOOM, had nothing to do with the platform. That was, of course, ticker ZM. It is what it is. Okay. All right. What else? So TDTH, this is the next one on the list. Did you have anything on this?
Yeah, this one, I don't know if you wanted to read through the news, but
I just wanted to make sure it was on your list here first. TDTH up 65%. This actually did have a piece of news here. Looks like, oh no, this was from yesterday.
Yes.
Oh boy. Trident Digital. Shares are trading. Okay, so no fresh news here today. It looks like this is just trading on yesterday's news. Short interest here, 0.81%, 1 day to cover. Not a whole lot going on. Float here, 2.4 million. So it's right in that area that we kind of like there. 21 million shares versus a 500,000 estimate. What do you think, TDTH?
Yeah. So the reason this was moving here this morning is because after, well, it was actually reported yesterday, but it seems like it wasn't until the after hours where we really started to see more movement. But basically, what happened is that the founder, chairman, and CEO converted 8 million of outstanding founder indebtedness into a restricted Class B equity. So that helps the company's balance sheet out. It's basically converting debt. So that's why it's up here. And because the float is also very small, 2.4 million shares, it's been pretty easy to push around. So we did get that news in the morning, and we did get some price action off that yesterday, but it wasn't a whole lot. The real action came in the after hours yesterday when more people got caught wind of this, and they were able to see this, oh, hey, look, it's very low float. Let's just push this thing around. That's what happened. Pushed it all the way up to $3.67. Haven't been back up there yet. It is trying to recapture the VWAP. That's the current resistance it's facing. And then after that, it's got to work on getting past 325 and 350. Those will be the next two resistance areas. The company has almost no revenue. It's got almost no cash, and it's not profitable. So there is a pretty good risk that this could still not see those highs again and just come back in and go back to where it started, which would be down around under $2, like about 185. So if we don't see a recapture of the VWAP here by the time that we're in the regular session, might not be a whole lot here for this one, since the move was yesterday.
Okay. All right. TDTH, good breakdown there on that mover. Next one on the list is going to be Blue Jay Diagnostic. This we've traded a whole bunch in the past. Ticker is BJDX, and it looks like this had a pretty good spike midday yesterday. Very, very short-lived. Spiked again here in the pre-market to just about the same area, 215-ish, and came back in. I don't see any news on this that is accounting for this. 18.2% of the float is shorted. It does have a micro float under 1 million shares, 1 day to cover. So a low float mover here that's traded just about 37 million shares. Looking at the chart here, kind of brutal, right? Cuffed up the VWAP, really didn't make any attempt to try to get back over it. Now we're kind of just down here about 150. 13, you have anything on this one?
I didn't look at it because there was just not a lot that was really looking great, and this is only up about 25%. I think the move may have already happened this morning because it ran up to 215, and that's about the high that it ran up to in the morning after in the regular session yesterday. So I could view that as a double top. It hasn't broken down to where to the its starting point, at 120. It's found some support from the 200 EMA on the 5-minute chart. So we may still see this turn around and try to at least recapture the VWAP. VWAP I have at 167. So it's got a bit of a ways to travel here still. And it's currently working on the 65 EMA. Let's look at the financials. I didn't take a look at this one, so don't know how great it is. We have traded this before. Looks like they still don't have any revenue. Still not profitable. They have
not a lot of cash flow negative, no revenue. Yep.
Yeah. So they might make it through another quarter, possibly two, but they're going to have to raise capital at some point soon. So just another biotech. I'm sorry, this is a healthcare one. So maybe it's getting some attention because we're seeing some rotation into some healthcare names out of tech, and into some healthcare and healthcare devices. And this also has some short interest that's notable. 18.23%, only 1 day to cover though. So that's why we got the move, the pop and the drop. So I don't know how great this is going to be. We do have some levels there. VWAP's going to be one, of course. 150 also stands out. That's the closest one. If we manage to get through those, we can just, we can look at other levels, but it seems like 180 might be next after the VWAP.
Kathy's saying BJDX possible short squeeze. I mean, 18% of the float shorted. Not really a whole lot days to cover. I don't know if it's really going to be squeezy.
Well, so that's what I was alluding to with this price action we saw yesterday, where we get that squeeze and then it just completely sells off because it doesn't have those days to cover. It's going to be just like a quick squeeze and then it's done. It comes
then if that's the case, then that's definitely your signal to lighten into that move. Yeah, that's how I would take that there. All right, good stuff. 13. Two more. Next, Clear One. Looks like this is actually going recently here. I didn't actually look at this myself. I'm assuming you didn't.
I took a quick look at it, and it's a it's one of those names that I don't think I've ever heard of, but it sounds interesting. They basically are they work on fulfilling warranty and technical support obligations, and I don't know how great of a business that is, but they apparently have a good enough business to start picking up other companies, because it's picking up a company called Vivani Medical, or Vivani, for around 40 million. So I don't know a whole lot beyond that.
This to me, first of all, the big move here happened on Thursday. A ton of volume on that move too. And that was when we got this news on Vivani Medical that you were just talking about. Now, today, it basically just kind of looks like it traded up to that area, didn't quite print that high, and stopped there. So maybe on a technical move, you can break above 950, let's call it. But
well, let's see here. It's holding VWAP.
880K in the float, so it is low float. So maybe we get that to kind of juice it here. No short interest of note.
Maybe this one could be good. I mean, the low float, really, I mean, I guess the news is relatively positive, but just don't like their cash position. Let's see what happens with the VWAP, because that seems to be what's keeping it up for now. And if it can continue to hold VWAP into the open, looks to me like $9 is the resistance it's going to have to deal with.
Okay, now the only other ones that I wanted to mention here, TDIC, this is one that we've traded before. Yep.
SkyQ,
SkyQ, we've traded before. Here, let me go to the chart so we can see it.
And then EDHL. Those are the other ones I broke down because they look familiar, or they are familiar, and we've traded them before, and something we just want to keep an eye on for a trade.
Yeah, do you want to talk any more about SkyQ, TDIC? Well, I don't know that there's anything really to go into.
The only thing I can really, talk about is this the way their charts look. I mean, with TDIC, be careful. This is that wild one that ran up that one day and then it gave it all back the next day, and probably created a lot of bag holders, but also a lot of very happy people as it went up. This one, it had a much better pre-market earlier this morning. It has not been able to hold on to those levels. If it does turn around here and start recapturing the 65 and the 200 EMAs, I would think that that $5 is the spot that we need to see reclaimed, and then we could go, and then it can go on to get VWAP. But I think after those EMAs I mentioned, $5 is the spot that we need to get over.
Okay. All right, that's TDIC. I do want to mention AMPG. I know several of you folks are talking about this one, or at least maybe you're just trading it on a weekly basis or on a daily basis. They did have news here. Amplitech announces a $10 million share buyback and terminates its offering. It's at the money equity offering. So that's why you're seeing nearly an 11% pop here. Short interest on this one, elevated 32.73% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover. Maybe that's related. It's traded 3/4 of its average volume already here in the pre-market. So AMPG, this may be one to watch, see if it can get above some of those pre-market levels there.
Looks like EDHL just had a pop and drop. It tried to get over the 65 EMA and climb up to I think the 515 areas where I would pin the next resistance just before VWAP. But yeah, I mean, it's struggling with that 65 EMA right now. But if it manages to start closing over that, then 515 and VWAP, I would say, are next.
And then SOXS here. This is one of these ETFs that we trade. This is the Direction 3X Bear ETF.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, Direction filed for a 2X leveraged fund for SK Hynix, so that should be fun. Didn't someone say that this was going through a reverse split recently?
I thought I saw somebody mention that.
7/15. Yep. July 15th, this will split 1 for 10. Now, what I will say about that is that this should be pretty good for trading. This should make SOXS a little bit better of a trader. It'll obviously be 10 times as expensive, which, $47, $45, depending on where it is. Actually, I think it might be better for intraday trading, but just wanted to bring that up here.
Lots of ETFs still coming on the market.
Wiss asking me for thoughts on Vani, ticker VANI, not one that I follow at all. Wiss, I don't have anything on this. This is the one that we just talked about that was linked with CLRO. So
yeah, that's getting acquired, I think, or is in talks to get acquired.
Tell you what, pre-market action here today, not great. Big spike up. It's a big range though, Wiss. We've seen these stocks move, so maybe if this starts to curl back to the VWAP, you could have something there.
So somebody was asking what's going on with SpaceX. Isn't going in on the Nasdaq?
You wanna cover a SpaceX chart here real quick?
You can, yeah. I think he's just referring to what's going on with it today. And it is entering the Nasdaq-100, I think, right? Isn't that what
yes, and there should be some forced buying for that.
Right, but it doesn't seem like that's shown up yet.
And then the other thing is I had a story here in the A block on SpaceX. This was Morgan Stanley. Here it is. This is the Morgan Stanley analyst that initiated coverage on SpaceX, sees 90% upside, gave it a $300 target. For any of you that want that, I'll throw that link to the story there in the chat. So SpaceX
$300 target, huh? That sounds like a target we've heard before from some other members in our group.
Indeed.
So they're looking at the same options.
All right. What do you want to take a look at here? ARM, Marvell, and Keg. You want to do any one of those while I step away here real quick?
Sure. Just pull one up and I'll take a look at it.
All right, let's do Marvell. I think that's probably one of the more popular ones here. We're at 13. Before you got on, we were talking to Charlie Moon from T3. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he said is that a lot of these, especially these former high flyers, we're in the phase right now where you really want to be waiting this out to come back into the 50. Like we talked about the 20, clearly it couldn't hold. Now we're kind of in a waiting pattern. So I just wanted to set that up as the backdrop. Here's your Marvell daily chart. I'll be right back.
All right, yeah. So like so many of these semiconductor names lately, mostly the memory names, they've all started to lose their 20-day SMAs, and they're all coming into their 50s. That's one of the, I don't remember if it was this show we talked about it, Micron coming to its 50-day SMA, but that's where it's headed. And I think we already had a bit of a bounce off of some of these 50-day SMAs and some of the other names. With Marvell, you have a 50-day SMA test coming. Probably will end up printing just slightly beneath it, as there is a gap fill that it's also in the middle of right now. The gap from June 1st to June 2nd is created about, let's see, 222, $35 gap that we're almost completely filled. And it'll fill down at, if you use the real body, 220. So we could see a brief dip beneath the 50-day SMA, but as long as we are still closing above that moving average, it should act as a bounce spot. Now, is this going to be the spot where the price finds support and turns around and goes on to recapture the 20-day SMA? Really can't say. I don't think that there's been enough selling quite yet, and I would better answer that question once we've actually had our gap fill and that 220 test and that 50-day SMA test that I'm pretty sure is coming. And we might even get that test in Marvell today on the 50-day SMA. So that's what I'd be waiting for. And I think it's wise to wait it out, because even if we do get a bounce, there is a lot of pressure to the upside because people that are still up there that didn't sell out and are having second thoughts are probably going to think twice. You can also draw a trend line here from a couple of these highs we've been making recently. Are we still on Marvell before I draw this trend? Okay. Yeah. So that would be the high from June 18th through the high of June 30th. Just a simple trend line, something to watch for here. If we are going to turn around and trade back up, this is a trend line that I'd be watching to break. And if we don't, then this should be an area of rejection. But I think what's coming next is that gap fill and that 50-day SMA support. Okay. Good stuff there on Marvell. Anne Marie saying Marvell top of earnings candle is at 207.40 with 218 above, near the 50-day moving average.
That is what 13 is referencing. Okay. What else do we want to take a look at? Should I go back to that list of
I kind of rambled on about Marvell, so I could look at the other ones too. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. ARM would be the other one.
Thing. It's going to be the same exact story. There's no gap to really fill here, and if you do want to consider one, it's going to be down in the 260s. But same thing with all these other tech names. Lost its 20-day SMA. If it back tested it, it got rejected. Looks like what happened here, and it's coming down to the 50-day SMA for support. I think that you're seeing this on a lot of these tech names that have run recently, and the 50-day SMA is what you're going to want to see hold up. If it doesn't, then let's say in ARM's case, the next support could be down at around 240.
Okay, and then KEG was the other one, CEG. That's Constellation Energy. This thing still I tell you what, it is trying to hold on to this support here. This thing has been in kind of a nasty downtrend.
Yeah, where does the support end up happening? Maybe a little bit lower around 220, could be even lower at around 200. Still kind of dealing with the death cross that occurred in February. So we really haven't come off of that. And this isn't, so this could still trade lower and it wouldn't be oversold, because when I look back through this stock's history, this thing has, several times gone beneath 30 RSI before it found its footing. So if we are still in a bit of a sell-off period, I don't think I'd be surprised to see this go under 30 RSI before the bottom is put in. So that's one thing I'd be watching for. And if we are going to head lower, then 220 and 200 would be my next spots I'd be keeping an eye on for support.
Yeah, I see both of the levels that you're talking about, but that 200 one really stands out to me. Mm-hmm. Anne-Marie here, though we don't love watching tech fade, indeed, I think we're all tech fans, at least in some regard, it is a good move to see the markets rotate into other areas. This builds better market breadth and better underlying strength. And indeed, that's the case. And one of the things we were discussing with Charlie is maybe we'll see continued rotation into some of the software names. Buffalo by Bicycle, I know you had brought up now, where it looks like this has tried to turn around here, maybe making a run towards its 200-day. Last time we did this, stopped dead in its tracks at its 200-day. So if we do that again, that's definitely a resistance area to at least take some gains on.
I like the idea that some folks have had. The financials looking good. I still think that the really beaten down consumer names are looking very attractive. Some now paying historically high dividends because they've been hammered down so much. I think that there's still going to be bargain hunting that's going to occur. And we've already started to see some of this movement already begin to happen. One name I continue to go back to and look at is New Oil Brands. I think this is going to be a summer play. It's already is a summer play. And it just had a golden cross. It, is extended, or is coming off of being extended. But I think that if we find support around $5, we could see this continue back up higher. But this is just one of many names I'm looking at. Don't own it yet, but I think the consumer names that have been really hammered down are going to get a lot of attention as bargain hunters look for deals.
Okay, so bargain hunters looking for deals is one thing. What do you think about Amazon?
Let me see here.
Amazon basically bounced off of its 200-day. This is trying to trade back up here. I would say that the top is probably the 50 here on Amazon. I like this long term. I just don't know if this is the time where it's going to roll.
Let me see here. It is a nice, not only the bounce off of the 200-day SMA and a quick recapture. That's great to see, actually.
Yeah. Volume's been declining into this move up to the 50, which also has me thinking that the 50 is going to provide some resistance. Izzy, you had talked about some news here this morning. Amazon seeks to raise at least $25 billion from a bond sale. That was from Bloomberg.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I see that there's a bit of a parallel channel that it's trading up in. So I think I would kind of just lean on that for now. Let me just draw it out so I have something here. And I would kind of, use the bottom, and I'm going on a monthly chart here, by the way, so it's this price action is a little clearer to me. But if we use a parallel channel that it's been in since like April of last year, that kind of puts the near-term top end in mid 280s and the near-term low end at about 219, 220.
Where your parallel channel, does this start here in January of 2025?
I'm using a lows from April 2025 and the low from February or March of this year.
Yeah. I see what you're talking about. So that's right here and right here, and then your channel is about this. If we extend this back, it does actually incorporate that other.
Yeah, I didn't do it that high. I was just going with since the April 5th. You could do that. That would work too. But I only have just from April, so I have the top of the channel touching the top of November's candle 2025 and May's candle this year.
Okay.
So that's all. But
yeah,
either way,
I got you.
Either way, this is what I'd be keeping an eye on until there's some change in that. And we're open.
And we are open. All right.
All right. So CLRO continues to climb higher. Clear one. Looking like it's seeking out $10.
Velo dipped beneath 15 here. So for those of you that were waiting for maybe a possible reload, keep your eye on Velo. Don't necessarily know that it's a buy right here, but it is below that price that we have been looking at.
Yeah. Okay. So there's $10 in CLRO, and it's retreating back towards VWAP now. BJDX, Blue Jay Diagnostics. This is creeping up to the VWAP. Wolf dropped down to 2130, trying to get some support and turn around here. TDTH, not doing a whole lot yet. It lost the 65 EMA briefly. Now it's trying to go back up to the VWAP.
T-Dick, not really moving yet a whole lot. TDIC, I guess I should say. Bell Ring Brands, what's this? Engaged in providing nutrition-related products, Premier Protein, Dymatize, and Power Bar. This is the Power Bar parent company. Okay.
Broadcom, that's, got rejected by its 20-day SMA yesterday. So probably still chop around between that moving average and the 200 until it chooses a direction. And, I wouldn't be surprised if that direction is down since we have some sell-off in tech. So right now I would just kind of, watch that for this, which moving average it snaps first.
Real quick here, TDTH really struggling to get above its VWAP. We got that at 308. 308, 310 might be one of those areas to move higher there. And then seeing some buys in some of these tech names. So Iron dipped out of the open, seeing some call buying into that. Here's Tesla. This actually traded up out of the open, seeing some more call buying that's chasing Tesla to the upside.
CLRO is going to probably halt. There it is, halted to the downside after hitting 10, went up to 1017 and turned right around. So let's keep an eye on some of these other movers, see if they get some attention that now that CLRO is halted.
Brian says the whole Iran thing has been suspiciously quiet lately. They did like some funeral service for the Ayatollah, right? And I think that's one of the reasons that, although we did get headlines about another tanker attack yesterday, that's responsible for your 1.6% pop in oil here today. It's actually still below 70, so still in a 69 handle on the oil futures.
BJDX popped up to the VWAP, hasn't been able to clear it, but it went right to that indicator.
And then here's Vanny Wiss that you were asking about earlier. I'll tell you what, this looks like this might try and go to that VWAP here. That's Vanny. And SOXS, by the way. So I know we talked about this splitting in July 15th, but this pullback right out of the open market actually traded up out of the open. Looked like it was going to try to go higher. Couldn't. And the tech, that is dipping. SPY's actually turning around here too. SOXS did a pull here. There's actually a very small fair value gap in here that held on SOXS. That looks like that's trying to go higher. Yeah, that funeral is a week long, Cynthia. It's not just a one-day thing, and I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing less activity, or as Brian called it. I think he called it suspicious activity, but nonetheless.
Not a lot of strength in these names. They just drop as soon as they reach a target.
No, and the SPY here pulling, and this is, it's beneath its VWAP now. We'll see where this holds here. 749 handle here for SPY.
BJDX trying to manage its way through VWAP. If it does break through VWAP, it looks like 185 is going to be the next resistance. If it doesn't get it from, 185, I would say.
Wellness Matters mentioning that, and look at BJDX. We did go back to the VWAP there. So, okay, so that worked out all right there. Wellness Matters talking about Microsoft looking strong. So we kind of talked a little bit earlier today about a potential rotation, maybe back into some of the stronger software names. Maybe we'll see that here with Microsoft. Okay, SPY pulled down to 749.50. Looks like it's trying to bounce here. We are in the first trade window, so I'll let you know if I get any signals here from the indicator. Downside SPY levels. So that's what we were talking about earlier. The real big one I have at 740. That's from the daily chart. But I also said this one here, 747.5. That would be one to watch here today, I think, Joe, if we continue to sell off. 13, do you have any SPY levels?
Oh, let's take a look.
I'm just wondering. It's all right if you don't.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to take a look at this chart. Okay, well, I mean, 750 has been one that we've been talking about a lot. That was resistance last week. Managed to finally get over it this week, and now here we are trying to defend it. I think that's what I would keep an eye on is if 750 can be defended. We want to close back above that. The support level beneath that, I would say, is going to be about 748.
That would make sense with the pullback and the reversal attempt at 749.5.
So that's what I'd be keeping an eye on there. There's also that trend line that we drew, and it's one of the things that needs to get snapped. But I don't think this is really oversold. I think that the market should continue to try and move up, but there is some resistance to the upside, unfortunately. And BJDX is still trying to make its way to that 185 area, running into some sellers. Looks like there's sellers all the way up, even beyond 185. But I think it's still going to hit that print.
Let me actually refresh Pro here.
Got to hold that VWAP. All right. Let's see. CLRO. That should. Oh, there. It just unhalted. CLRO is unhalted. It's open, or it's beneath VWAP right now, trying to reclaim it. Looks like VWAP and $9. The next resistance. Couldn't even get up there at the moment. Let's look at other names. Oh yeah, I'm still liking ticker YOU. That actually just had some recent news also. Let me see here. I'll read it to you. So that news pops up. Here we are. Clear partners with Amazon Web Services to integrate its secure identity platform, Clear One, into contact centers powered by Amazon Connect. That was last Monday. We got that news.
Looks like you getting some more action here. You plus another 3. Oh, okay. Sorry. I got it confused with CLRO, which has a similar name.
Mm-hmm.
EKS, that's a good move. Long since 34 on this one. 13, that ended up being a great call.
Oh yeah, I still have it. Just just trimmed it ever since I picked it up in about that same area in the mid 30s.
SpaceX, big pull here, 154 now on SpaceX. We still are looking for that 150 area. We'll see if that gets tested again and holds. And then the SPY continuing to pull here, 749. Looks like we're going to. No indicators, no signals from the indicator. Yep.
Retro, mentioning T, looking like it was a good buy yesterday. I'm looking at longer term charts, like the weekly and the monthly, and we've lost a key moving average here. And I think it would be quite bullish if the price managed to recapture those by the time that these candles close. So for the weekly, we need to get a recapture of that 200 week SMA. That is currently at 21.24, so not too far away from the current price. Same thing with the monthly chart. You have the 50-month SMA at 21.32, and same idea. If we recapture that this month, then I would also view that as bullish. So I think that's what I would want to see first before I would get into this. But maybe there is this is a good support area down just underneath 20 or just at 20. I can see how that was a support area in the past. Just need to see if it can hold up. Because if it doesn't, then I think the next support area I would pin down around 1750.
MUZ, another shout out to Cam. You had talked about taking this yesterday on the Micron pullback. That actually tried to go higher here, but has pulled off of its highs. Here's what Micron's chart looks like. We're basically right back to where we opened today's session at. SPY bouncing back up towards VWAP here, 749.92.
Doesn't look like anything's really going on a big run.
No, it doesn't. And it seems like a lot of stuff pulled back. I know we talked about SpaceX pulling back. Apple pulled back a little bit. Goldman Sachs pulled back. I did see Bank of America on the unusual option scanner there, but it wasn't really like a sizable buy. Here's XLF. That's continuing higher. I know we talked about this being a potential breakout, and we're still kind of at that level there. And then also we've talked about today here, rotation. Like Anne-Marie was just saying, rotation out of some of these heavy tech names should actually strengthen up the market. That's kind of what we're seeing here so far. Now this pulled back a little bit. Let's take a look at some of these software names here real quick.
Let me see if I have
Microsoft. That's pulling back here too.
Yeah, somebody was mentioning ACN. That's doing great. That's over 140 now.
It's Accenture.
Yep. One of my other names that I do like the those beaten down consumer names. KHC has been pretty good lately. Pepsi, we get earnings this week.
Wednesday, I believe. Let me see.
Either Wednesday or Thursday. I think it might be Thursday, but I'm not 100% sure.
It is Thursday, before the market opens on Thursday.
There we go. Tyson, now back over $60. So yeah, I'm really liking the consumer beaten down names.
Yeah, staples, it seems like.
Chillin
would be another one of these, by the way. Constellation Brands up 2.6%.
Mo Chillin mentioning AXTI and AAOI, two names we've traded a lot this year.
AAOI, obviously, in the optics section. Charlie talked about this morning as well. And Zach saying Ondas interviewed
EDHL.
Bloomberg. Yeah, okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. I got to ban the spammer here anyway. All right.
Yeah, EDHL had a pop through VWAP, coming up to some resistance levels. Looks like 560 might be, maybe 550, 560, somewhere in there is going to be where the resistance is. Doesn't mean that's where the end of it is.
Getting a nice bounce here in SPY, but the signal did come late. It actually came while the price was trading higher here, so would not have been a signal to follow anyway. I actually already flashed a sell signal too.
BJDX still not able to get to 185 yet. Holding above the VWAP for the moment. I see a ton of supply from 175 up through 185. So we're going to need to see some big volume expansion to get through all this. Might get it soon. Just watch for that volume expansion.
And then what about Vanny? That was another one where we had range up to the VWAP. Okay, so this kind of came back, so it didn't do a whole lot. Anne-Marie saying it's very sideways. It's kind of what it feels like here.
Yeah.
Still inside the 1 minute candle on the ES. ES right at the VWAP, by the way. S&P futures right at VWAP. I did get another buy signal on the SPY. Not taking that though.
Buy, sell, buy, sell.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't feel like a great signal. Zach mentioning that Eric Brock, CEO of Ondas, doing an interview on Bloomberg. Hopefully I can go back and watch that. Let's see if there's a link here.
All right. I think we're gonna get it here with Blue Jay. It's still trying to push up. It's chewed up a lot of that supply, or the supply just rolled higher. But it's still trying to push up into that 185 area. We ticked 180. Just if you're trading this, just make sure you got your stops appropriately placed.
Zach, do you have a link to that interview by chance? And if you can't throw it in the chat here, maybe send it to my X account.
That's not where I thought that was going.
Yeah, that's. AMPG, this is continuing to trade higher here on the back of its news at canceling the offering.
Wow. Just when you think some of these are looking good, they just immediately change on you.
Meta actually having a nice day.
Is it?
I mean, up 2%.
Yeah, it's kind of right in that trend line. Still trading beneath the 20-day SMA. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a 20-week hold or 20-month. Let me go back to this chart here. So it is above the 20-day SMA. It's above the 50-day SMA as well. Looks like it's going back up for another challenge of the 500-day SMA and that 625 area. See if it can get above that.
Snow trading higher by 2%. Let me check it on the trade desk here. TTD. That's higher here. How about Oracle? Oracle higher by 1% here too. So we talked about this maybe being potential relative strength.
Yeah, the IGV is it opened higher, but it's kind of given it all back.
SPY pulling off that rather pathetic bounce attempt. Zach says, Ryan, no, I can't find it. Only an excerpt on X. I'll find it. If you find it, send it to me on Twitter. I guess if I just say that, there's no confusion.
What would your ex think of that link?
Man, that's a tough question to answer. I don't know her feelings on drones. Brian says, Meta and Microsoft are the best buys in their drawdowns.
I agree with half that.
Me too. I like the Microsoft half of that more than the Meta half of that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Meta. I don't really like what they're doing with their business, their CapEx, and their inability to secure that Manus acquisition. I have a lot of concerns about Meta. Not so much Microsoft. I think Microsoft's going to be just fine.
Google, this is actually pretty good here this morning. This trying to go higher. And that's in the face of the Nasdaq rolling over a little bit. I got to think. Let's check in on Micron again. Still lower. SanDisk. Let's see how that's doing. You know what else I'm going to do here real quick?
I mean, one of their the things I don't like is the CapEx, and I get that you're not going to realize larger revenue if you don't spend more, and I understand all that, but I don't. It feels like a lot of what they're spending their money on just isn't really coming to fruition. Like, where's the metaverse? And The Man of Steel, I think that's still a big concern that I would have, and until that's completely resolved and unwound, and they make China happy, then I think I wouldn't want to be involved with Meta until I have some more clarity on that. The Manus thing is a big reason why I don't want to touch it right now.
Anne-Marie saying Meta has a good iron condor for the next bits. Maybe we'll take a look at that. Here's what's dragging down the queues. Rivian, AMAT, Lam Research, KLAC, Intel, AMD, Micron, and Marvell. Those are going to be your top losers in the queues here. Rivian down 10.5%, although this is bouncing on the back of that offering.
Metaverse is the simulation. You're in the Matrix, Neo. Yeah, Micron, here's the big one that's coming down to its 50-day SMA.
What value do you have for the 50 on Micron?
870 and 80 cents.
Okay, so still another 50 points, frankly, for this to make its way down there.
And I personally would like to see a test of 850 and then a recapture of the 50-day SMA. That would probably look better to me.
Clayton saying everyone are using Microsoft to run Claude code. Replacement no. Sorry, I'm not sure what you're asking there, Claude. Or Clayton, excuse me. Claude's what you talked about. Lilly up 4%. I actually saw that being covered by Kramer right ahead of the opening bell. Looks like that actually went up from the open here. Yeah. Lilly, nice little move higher here off the open.
How's Moderna? That's down. I actually had, so I think this is one of the things we were talking about yesterday because this had gone on such a nice run.
Yeah.
Trying to remember where we talked about this coming back in. Okay, yeah, we talked about this having a pullback, so that might be the start of what we're seeing here because it needs it. It's a fantastic run all the way up to the 200-week SMA and the 500-week SMA. If we get a rejection and it comes back down to like 70 or maybe just under 70, that'd be pretty good, I would say.
Yeah, to me, a pullback after the run that it's made here is not a bad thing, frankly, at all. And then, Trey, I like your comment here, Rivian. No matter what they do, they are still losing about $10,000 per vehicle. I guess it's better than losing $40,000 per vehicle. That's true. And we've talked a lot about how much cash they burn and how that's really kind of a problem for investing in this company in the long term. But what I will say here is that this company does really give good trading opportunities. If you're able to kind of figure this, one of my buddies trades Rivian. I don't think he really, likes the car or the product or whatever. He trades it because it continues to give you these moves, these back and forth moves pretty regularly. And so kind of what I'm looking at for here on Rivian is, do we finish today at a tradable level? We can kind of just forget about the offering there. Oh, okay. Will Claude replace Microsoft? No, I don't think so at all.
So I guess I'm kind of wondering about Rivian. Did they just kind of pump their numbers up ahead of their earnings? Because it seems like they, last week they were talking about higher vehicle production and they raised their delivery guidance, and then was that just a setup in order to sell more shares?
I mean, that's what it feels like, right? It kind of feels like the back and forth here, right? Like you had this good news, you had a good run, you had good delivery numbers on top of it. Wham! Right into an offer.
This is penny stock behavior, but with a larger company. That's why I don't like Rivian. Anyway.
Liam, I can't. I don't know what to tell you about Burry's put option trade. See, here, this is what I'm talking about. Tess, Rivian has been a very good vehicle trade-wise for me. I could care less about the actual vehicle. This is exactly what I was talking about. Shout out to Pete too. I don't know if Pete actually likes the vehicle itself, but he seems to be trading that pretty regularly. And you folks are not alone in doing that. So
Well,
Again, another one of these where if you can discern any type of pattern on this,
yeah.
probably work for you. Rivian continues to sell off here, though.
Look at the weekly over the past 3 years. You just have a lot of opportunities, even a pattern you can identify, especially back in 2024. Hey, if this thing goes under $10, buy it. And as soon as it goes over 16, 17, 18, sell. And just repeat that pattern.
Yeah, and I can't help it. Now that we've gone to this weekly chart, I'm going to add this trend line here. If this comes in and tests this trend line, this is a buy based on that.
You also have a golden cross that could happen on the weekly, but it's going to have to hold $16. Actually, a little bit higher than that. It's going to have to hold maybe 17.
All right, let's start looking at some of these downside SPY levels here. SPY really selling off now. Tech following suit here. Ed, I know you were on a QQQ dip today early on. You were on this yesterday in happy hour, but you were on it again here in the pre-market. You are getting that now. SOXS trading higher. That looks like it might test 5. SPY here at the lows. We talked about 750 being a potential level. We've melted that now. Now, to the point of that 750 level, let's see where we close 13, of course. But for right now, at least we're under that here. 747.5 would probably be your next spot.
Yeah, somewhere between 747 and 748. Yeah, that's probably where the support's going to be. Anyway, that's where the next support is. Certainly, it's an area we can keep an eye on. After that, there might be some support down around 745, but I think I would lean on the 744 handle better, because that's where there's a previous all-time high at. So, looks like CLRO, this one that was that halted to the downside earlier, is now back up at the $10 area again, trying to climb into that handle. Still no closes above $10, but got a couple prints above there now.
I am seeing Microsoft call buying, Oracle call buying, Tesla and Rivian call buying, Amazon call buying, Ionic call buying. None of those in tremendous size or anything, but a lot of call buying into the move down here.
They're cheap. They must be cheap. Just looking around at some of these other names, Wolf certainly looking really weak. That has dropped, tried to rebound and recapture VWAP, said nope, continuing lower. Let's see, where is there a support in this? Oh, look, 1750.
Joe, do you think the trade deficit news is having an impact? Are you referring to the trade balance print that we got this morning? I don't think so. And then another good question, and you know what, Ken, this shame on me. I should have mentioned this. I'm sorry I didn't. Ken, you're asking when those calls were. Let me just scroll back here. A lot of those look to be short term. Yeah, these are all in the July month. The ones for Tesla, the ones for Amazon, CrowdStrike, that's in August, but the IREN ones are in July. NVIDIA, Ionic, those are the Ionic ones in August, but it looks like really 1 to 2 months tops on some of those.
Just looking for some reason to pin on the decline here. I mean, it looks like the market lost a key level that it was leaning on for pretty much all morning. This 749.50, 750 area. I mean, you can just see in the price action intraday, ever since like 4 o'clock, we went down and found support around the 749.50 area. And that's been the support level, all morning. We visited multiple times. We finally just crashed through it.
SpaceX new lows here. So we're actually coming into that 150 area on SpaceX. Be very curious to see if this holds and provides for a bounce. I am not looking to necessarily trade this at all, although I probably would look at SNK on a clean break of 150 to the downside.
Let's look at SNK. Nice. Yeah, so SNK 22 looks like the spot. We don't have any closes above 22. But I would think that if we do get a close above that, we could continue higher.
I think that would coincide with a 150 break in the underlying as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oscar Health, this popped out of the open, gave everything back, but seeing some sizable call buying into that, nearly 400K on that. Christoph, take care of yourself. I saw that you sent a message earlier that you're here to be in solidarity with me. That was nice of you. I appreciate that. Have a good one, though, Christoph.
Coca, new all-time highs, another summer play.
That's also KO.
Yep. And hello, Sade Murphy. Or is it Sadie? Anyway, hello.
Okay, I'm just kidding. Clayton mentioning Rocket Lab here. Boy, that's getting shellacked again. So the whole space theme here, we've looked at SpaceX, we've looked at Rocket Lab, we've looked at Velo. All of these look the same.
They've all had a great run, but that's okay because I think that we're just seeing rotation out of them and they'll be back.
And Hernandez. That's a combination of Hernandez and Hendricks, I feel like, or at least that's what my brain says. So I like that a lot. SpaceX really surprised me today. It's almost like crypto being put onto Robinhood, but not pumping. I'm so confused. So I think that there's a lot of I know what you're referring to is the inclusion in the Nasdaq. I don't know that that's necessarily just going to happen right away. There might even have been some firms that kind of front ran that, maybe. I don't know. Maybe on that first pullback down to 150, they knew it was going to happen.
Well, I think it's, I don't think I would really expect to see a lot of higher prints until we get some of those share dilution events out of the way. Well, not share dilution, but unlocked. We already know that these shares exist. They're not creating new ones. They're just allowing them to be traded on the market. And, the earliest ones are going to be, next month, when we're going to see 20, maybe up to 30% of them unlocked if it trades above that share performance threshold. We still expect that this will trade lower, maybe even below the IPO price. I know I'm waiting for lower prints, and
me too.
We'll see if 150 holds the way that this has been trading. It doesn't really look like it might in the near term. And then also, I think that as much as I love these test flights with Starship, I think those could end up being sales events, like of the stock. Like it could sell off after one of those flights, and it's for the simple reason that this is like a $90 to $100 million launch that takes place every time. So, and if nothing's recovered, then it's a big loss. Even though they are getting a significant amount of data to keep refining their product, it's a significant cost to the company. So I think that's and it's going to materially take value away from the stock. So I think those could be, with the next one coming up, probably, I think it's supposed to happen before the end of this month. That could be another event that pulls the stock down further.
And the other thing is like the economics of what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to reduce the payload cost for getting into space, right? So they want to get it down initially to like $500 per kilogram and then down to like $150 per kilogram. These test flights that cost money, like that's all for future cost savings. So to 13's point about how important these are now, any setback means that timeline is likely being stretched out. And when you try to apply that then to SpaceX's price, if the timeline for reducing the cost of bringing things to orbit is stretched out, then you could have the inverse relationship exists on SpaceX's bottom line, I would imagine. So
go ahead.
So I agree with you that these are important. To me, they almost represent more downside risk than upside potential. That's my read through on it.
There's still going to be some other events coming up where they're going to be spending a lot of money. One thing that they're in talks right now to do is to purchase a significantly sized portion of the Vermilion Parish in Louisiana near Pecan Island. Basically, it's going to be 136,000 acres of land that they're buying, pretty much the size of Chicago. And this is going to be their next Starbase. It's strategically located between, the Texas Starbase and Cape Canaveral in Florida. And it's also got a significant amount of infrastructure, and waterway infrastructure, so they can transport some of these rockets between, states, and that's going to be a significant spend for them as well. So there's going to be a lot of other things they're going to be putting money towards. That's going to likely pull their share price down, but eventually it's going to all pay off because they are doing some fantastic things there. And I've already started to see a lot of articles talk about what I've been saying for months now about how this opens up, new horizons for industry, and we're headed into a largely unregulated territory. This is the future of data center growth and growth for a lot of other industries. So getting industries off planet into this vast landscape is very appealing, but it's going to take a long time to get there.
Meta still holding by its highs here. Market still pulling 748 and a quarter now on the SPY. I think we're still looking for 747 and a half. The only indicators that I have on this signal, the only signals that I have on this indicator are to the downside. So far, it looks like a shorting day.
Thank you, Andrew, for bringing up CLRO. This thing is halted to the upside. It broke out over 10 finally, and now it is halted at 1067. Thank you for that mention. That was a fantastic move there in CLRO. Probably one of the better movers this morning.
Joe, we're going to have Tim Melvin on tomorrow, so you can ask him that directly tomorrow. I will make a note of this to try and remember. If Tim is his normal self, where he's just cracking jokes and making everybody laugh, you might have to remind me. Fair warning. Sometimes I get distracted with Tim's humor. But that's a good question regarding reverberations of the Iranian war and then oil and how that applies to oil, fertilizers, natural gas, and all of that. SpaceX 170 call buying into the move down. As far as the date on those are this week. That is a short-term trade on SpaceX. Well,
so those are sales then, call sales.
I don't know. I mean, it could be someone just looking for a bounce here. To me, I wouldn't do it that way. I'd wait for 150 because I still think we're going to end up testing that level. I might be in meetings. I will do my best to remember. I did make a note of it here, Joe, so you can definitely blame me and rip on me if I forget.
I mean, the way that the price is, I mean, if we exclude the first day it traded, the way that this price action has been continuing to hammer 150, I feel like the level is going to be lost at some point soon. It just seems like this is the price action since we IPO'd. It looks like it wants under 150. Meanwhile, CLRO is open, hit 1114 before retreating a bit back under 11. This continues. Let's see where this goes. This might, I certainly see a case to be made that this could hit 12. Don't know if it will, but 12 looks like another spot. 1350 looks like another spot, and 15. So it seems like every $1.50 there's another major resistance area in this.
SOX S at the highs. Cam, you were mentioning that the SPY is hanging around its pre-market range low, and indeed that's the case here. Let's take a look at SPY. I'm still thinking 747 and a half is probably that spot. This is where I'm getting it from. Still think we have a little bit more to go, but to your point, this is actually from the pre-market area from yesterday. We're below today's pre-market lows. We are near the overnight lows, which are not displayed on this chart. Gary mentioning LNG is up over 3%. Oil has climbed again as well. That's up 2.7%. And so looking at that, I mean, oil here moving up, SPY moving down. We've seen that relationship throughout the conflict in the Middle East, and it looks like we're getting another one of those here today. Watch out for headlines. Have your head on a swivel and be ready if you get a headline or a post or a tweet or something of that nature. Elo on its dead day lows, 14.14. I am definitely loading up if that goes into 12.
Yeah, EKS, they're great dividend payers, but man, a lot of their income goes to those dividends. I still think that I would, admittedly, Verizon has come down off a pretty high level there, but I still think that this could come in some more. These telecoms, they have a significant amount of debt, and if rates aren't getting cut soon, or if they're, there's still that talk about them potentially raising it. I don't think it would be great for these names because they or the utility names either, because they need those low rates.
And IWM, which would also like those lower rates, straight down here. It was actually in the green in the pre-market. We're now down by almost 1%. All right, well, this should make it easier, or hopefully easier, for us to find relative strength. PTE doesn't have it. How about Oracle? I talked about that one earlier. Oracle now gone red too.
CLRO, that popped up to 1188. Now it's trying to hold above 1070. Looks like this might come back in a little bit, but as long as it holds 10, I still think that we could see 12.
It's totally fine, Cam. And look, I mean, pre-market might as well be the overnight. A lot of these things are trying to go to 24/7 trading anyway. Jody saying, is Netflix a long-term buy? So this is a tough one. I want to say, just because of the popularity and the size of the company and the fact that it's made a really kind of a big move down to the lows, I would say in that regard, yeah, I could absolutely see. I don't think it's going anywhere necessarily. But the larger undertone here is something that we've discussed for a long time. They have a very, very real content problem. And the content problem is now starting to bleed over to a sentiment problem, because some of the biggest stalwarts that have been Netflix subscribers for a long time don't see as much value in it as they once did. And so if you have a content problem, you're not creating better content, you're not satisfying, I don't want to go too far, but let's say not satisfying some of your biggest stalwarts. 13, you've outlined this before. What's the move for Netflix? Well, they probably have to buy content. They haven't necessarily done a good job at that either, to be quite honest with you. So when you ask me about the long term here, I would say if there was something where we could really feel good about the content, we would almost certainly say yes, especially given the pullback from its high here. It's basically been cut in half from its all-time high.
And I thought that, it going down to 70, it came pretty close, but 70 was the spot that I thought the price should come down to. It's starting to recover, but if it can't get back above that 50-day SMA, then I think I could find another spot lower, like maybe around 55 to 58, that it could eventually come down to. But I think that if you have a long term, it's going to depend on your horizon. If you have like a 10-year plan for this, the prices that it's at right now might be a pretty good deal. But if you're much shorter term than that, maybe wait out for lower prices. I don't want to tell you what to do with Netflix. I think it is pretty attractively discounted. But to what Ryan was just saying about its content and the fact that it's raising prices and raising more money so they can make this content, I already have a lot of concerns about what that content's going to look like, because Netflix does not have great writers. They don't. They're actually pretty garbage. So I just don't have a lot of faith in what they're trying to put out right now. So I couldn't tell you if it's a great buy right now or not. But like I said, if you have a long-term time horizon, maybe it is here.
I can appreciate how it's came down from its highs, but again, very real problems there that we have been talking about for some time now. And they don't look like they're resolved or close to being. So that would be something to watch there. By the way, SPY here coming into our 747.50 area. This has actually been pretty good. Yesterday, we talked about this thing finding resistance up about 751-ish. I know it went to 752, but sure enough, that was resistance. Now we're coming back in. Let's see if 747.50 holds here. This is yesterday's lows.
Wolf under 20. BJDX pretty much sideways still. CLRO, this is probably the best mover here. Still now back above 11, trying to sniff out 12.
Big B is saying Oracle continues to get pounded here. Oracle credit rating is next to junk. They may run out of cash in 2027.
Yeah, Retro, that's kind of
backlog.
That's kind of the thing. They've been picking up some really good titles. Like I think one of the big ones that they picked up that everybody was talking about for a while was the Squid Games. So that's the kind of thing that they've been successful with, is getting some of these outside studio names and bringing them into their lineup. K-pop Demon Hunters is another one. Very, very little of their in-house, their in-house made content is actually good. Most of it isn't. Yeah, at Buffalo, that's a lot. That's pretty much what it comes down to. A lot of it is like that.
SPY cracked that 747.50 and immediately went to 747. Now, I do think at some point we're likely going to see a bounce here today. How strong or tradable will that bounce be? I don't know yet, but man, SPY continuing to pull. We're actually beneath the support level we talked about.
CLRO 1228, now the high. It did hit that 12 print. Now it's back underneath it, trying to get back over that. I'm going to find the next level here, because that was one of the resistance areas, I believe. Yep, looking backwards at last year, that was one of them. 1350, I think this was the next resistance after 12. So if we start closing over 12, let's look for 1350. Dara, I can completely understand that. And I think what I would say is, if there is going to be one that you're going to watch, and not necessarily for the animation, but for the plot, look at 1995's Ghost in the Shell. That is probably one of the most influential pieces of art that I think has been made on that animated side. So very interesting story, very relevant to today's environment, actually, seeing as how we're headed towards cybernetics. But that would be one that I would certainly watch, because it's actually a pretty good flick. Make sure it's the 1995 animated one, not that recent live action one with Scarlett Johansson. That was actually absolutely terrible.
SPY continuing to pull here. Nikhil, I'm wondering the same thing. I'm wondering if we get any bounce here. Don't see it yet. Still watching it, but don't see anything of note yet. More call buying in Oscar. That was actually red earlier here today. It looks like that's gone green. Even the Dow pulled. That was the strongest indice that we had here today.
S-Dot is back. That wasn't doing a whole lot this morning, but it recently, about in the past 15 minutes, it had a big spike up, and it's trying to get above 55.
Anne-Marie, 745, next line in the sand for SPY. There we go. Appreciate it.
And CLRO running into some resistance, having a hard time with 12. It does get over that. 1350 is the next spot I think is going to give the price trouble.
SpaceX 150 calls going off there. That's still trading lower. 151 handle on SpaceX.
Let's see if there's any specific news here. Lots of coverage today on SpaceX. Lots of it. So Kathy
Yeah,
Woods.
are these? Yeah, oh, this is all new coverage. Well, let's see what the range of these are. Looks like we've got 255 from Deutsche Bank. Oh my God, Raymond James,
I read
price
about that
rating
one.
of 800.
That's the one. So there was a story on this, and I read a little bit into that, and that's where I was kind of talking about how the things I've been mentioning with SpaceX and how it kind of opens up the horizon for new industry or industry expansion. Because I thought that was like a really well out there price target, but everything that I've been saying about what this could lead to with Starship is buried in that price target for Raymond James.
Now, those price targets are normally 12 to 18 months. I don't know what the feasibility of getting to that in that time is.
I think they're off their rocker for that price target in the next 12 to 18 months, but I do think 800 is a likely eventuality. Just I don't think in that time frame. Yeah, why not 10,000 exactly? I mean, what was also Raymond James recently calling for? Let's go back to Microns. I'm pretty sure they're one of the ones that said 1,500, didn't they? I'm just kind of being a jerk right now, but that's you get the point. Let's see. Raymond James raises price target to. Why did this all get moved around on me? Where is the price target? Why is this different now?
Are you looking for?
Oh, here we go. Okay, there we go. It's just okay. It's just written that way. Oh no, they called for 1,100. It was Deutsche Bank that was looking for 1,500, and Cantor Fitzgerald. That's the one, Cantor Fitzgerald. All right. Well.
Yeah, Corey, we saw that tanker damage in the Strait. That's why your oil prices are higher here today.
NTR retro. Let me take a look at that one.
Nikhil, I do not have a buy signal. We are nowhere near the VWAP or the 9 EMA. Oh, just saw CRM on there.
So Raymond, I'm sorry, not Raymond. Retro. When it comes to Nutrien, if you get that rejection at the 200-day SMA, then I would watch for the loss of 64 before talking about getting that gap fill. This may already be on its way back up to higher prints. So what I can tell you is 200-day SMA is going to be a resistance area, and then after that you have 68 and the 50-day SMA bearing down on that level as well. So even if you do get past the 200-day SMA, 68 looks like the big resistance area. It sounds like you want this slower so you can get this more attractively priced. I can't say that necessarily that the price action is indicating that the downside is ahead right now. I think you would need to get confirmation that you're getting a rejection of the 200-day SMA before you start to see that loss of 64. So I don't think it's a long shot, but there's certain things that need to happen first. That's what I would leave it at.
Let me just go through the chat here. Sam King, Rambus, good outlook for the week? No, definitely not. All of those chips and all of those semiconductor names not looking great at all. Continuing to pull here. Brian saying a lot of volume on the sell. This whole move down. I think you're talking about the broader market there. Indeed, this was a pretty significant move down there. Let's see what else. SPY back above the PDL. Previous day low. Yes, of course.
Well, if there are more lows to be had here in SPY, now we already talked about 745 as being the next support. Underneath there, I mean, I'm looking at some previous all-time highs, and the one that's provided support the last 2 days from last week was the 743.91 level. We call it 744 if you want, but that looks like the previous all-time high support that's next, and then the 20-day SMA right beneath that.
Someone had mentioned, it might have been retro. I'm sorry if I missed this earlier. Someone was talking about Walmart earlier. Here's WMT. We'll do it on the big chart. This is actually the monthly. It's actually holding the 20-month SMA here. Here's what Walmart looks like on the daily chart. We had talked about this really kind of wanting to recapture the 200. Kind of traded around the 200 for 3 sessions and then moved away from it. Now we've actually filled the gap back to the upside. I think you're okay waiting here on Walmart. Let's see if it makes it back up to 117 and what it does with 117 once we're up there.
This is really just a great resolution of a double top. And I think that if we get a full resolution of this, the price is probably coming down to $100.
That's right where your 500 is.
Yeah. I think that's where I'd be looking at. That may end up resulting in a death cross, which would be the first time we've had one of those since
a long time on Walmart.
Yeah, looks like June of 22, and that only lasted about 5 months. So, I mean, I'm looking back through all kinds of history here with Walmart. These death crosses do not appear to last very long. Like maybe a year at the most. And when I mean last, I'm talking like from death cross to golden cross when they, when the 50 moves back over the 200. It doesn't seem like these last long. So yeah, I think I'd be keeping an eye on that 500-day SMA $100 level. That looks pretty good to me. And it does also look like we're trying to climb back up too. But I get the sense that we could see a rejection at the 200-day SMA. Well, so we'll see.
And more air being let out of all the momentum trades. SpaceX, that's at the lows. Ondas at the lows. I would imagine other drone companies are doing something similar. Tesla at the lows. We've already talked about some of the memory names. The VIX has actually traded up to 16.5. That's actually not even that high yet. SPY continuing to pull. Q's continuing to pull here.
That's
Bitcoin interesting, relatively flat.
That makes sense, Zach. Walmart lowers prices, then that makes sense as to why it's coming in. It's still very probably not it's probably having a hard time with tariffs still, and also at the same time understand that there's pressure on the consumer. But retail sales up 10% over last year, so seems like the consumer is still hanging in there.
We've heard from companies that they're surprised at the resilience of the consumer. We talked about Walmart, didn't we? Oh, no, that wasn't in the thing here today, in the stocks to watch. Skin, this was a penny stock earlier. This is probably one of your better movers here. Yeah, this is a penny stock, went to dollar territory.
Skin is overbought. Still could see the 200-day SMA at 120. I think that would be the maybe today's resistance. This is a really nice breakout over the 50-day SMA that it's had over the just this week. And this actually may see some more upside tomorrow. And I'm only saying that because we might get a relative volume play. It's a good amount of volume for one day. Probably one of the best volume days they've had in a long time. I think I would keep an eye on Skin for more upside tomorrow, just based on the idea that this might have some relative volume, and also you're getting a silver cross soon.
All right. 3 minutes left here until we move over to Anne Marie.
Ubiquity.
It's ticker UI, right?
Yes. A recent death cross there. I have a trend line on this one that I don't know when I drew this, but it has to have been a while, maybe much earlier this year, because now we've lost that trend line. And we're still getting the price action suppressed by the 20-day SMA. Looks to me like somewhere in the somewhere between 400 and 450 is going to be support, and I know that's a really big range, but I just can't say exactly where support is going to be. The 500-day SMA is certainly going to provide support. I don't know how briefly, and that's kind of in the same range that I was just I think I was just talking about there, but I think it was 450 I said, but yeah, I can't say exactly where the support's going to be, but there should be some coming soon. And there's several levels of support on the way down here, but this doesn't look like it's finished going lower to me.
No, the chart looks terrible. These folks do networking infrastructure. And I mean, this looks bad. This to me looks like it absolutely wants to go towards 400.
EDHL.
Global exposure too for Ubiquity.
EDHL is one of the movers from this morning. This is back above the VWAP, trying to hold up there. It's going to take a quick look at these movers again. CLRO is trying to hold on to 12. It printed 1243. Now it's, man, this thing is just whipping around. Be careful with CLRO. It's provided a nice trade here, but I don't know about taking a trade up at this level. BJX, all right. And yeah, sorry, just looking around. Anyway.
13, we're out of time. Closing words for the group.
Not the greatest of movers here this morning, but we still found some stuff to trade, and we'll just have to wait and see if there's going to be more developments out of the Strait of Hormuz action that's been happening so far this week. But until then, folks, just make sure you hold on to your capital and got your stops robustly set, and we'll be back here tomorrow to find some more trades to make some money. Take care, folks. Have a good time with Emery. Bye-bye.
All right, 13, take care. We will see you tomorrow. 13's departure leaves room for Anne-Marie. Let's bring her on. Anne-Marie, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing all right. Another day, another dollar, although it does look like we're in a pullback here today.
Yeah.
I don't know how much strength we're going to have.
The SPY, remember yesterday I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we came all the way back into Thursday's trading range. We did not. We just continued moving up. But this move today is the one that I expected. I know you're like, what the heck is all these colors? But the big picture is the 930 candlestick from Thursday is where the stock is trying to hold. This is where the SPY is trying to hold. So they're going to try and bounce off of this space. If you're a quick strike trader, this bounce here could be a really nice buy up into maybe 748 and some change, maybe 748.80. But it would be counter flow, so you'd need to be staring it down at something like a 1 minute chart. That's going to be the only thing that's going to give you that upward flow. Otherwise, the bounces are going to continue to sell off. For me, whenever we have trading days that are holidays and price action holds like it did on Monday, I usually see the price action give back. It's just one of those things that happens. So,
Anne-Marie, can we please increase the font here?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Just want to make sure before I forget, because sometimes we get halfway through this and I'm like, oh yeah, nobody can see anything.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So we've got a bunch of names that we can go through. Earnings season is just starting. I suspect what we're going to have is this rotation continuing to come out of these semis that are incredibly overheated. We can see how the Qs look, right? And the Qs look really pretty weak in terms of overall motion. But, there's a lot of support sitting down at these ledges, but I wouldn't be surprised if we come down into the 690 area just to take a little breath out of the market. The market just needs to cool off a little bit, and we see this with big money rotation. All the big names out there saying, hey, listen, we could go back to the hyperscalers, whatever. But at this juncture, notice Tuesday, Monday, Thursday. And so it's broken through Thursday. It's now at Thursday's low. Traders are going to try and buy it there. So again, if you're looking to say, hey, I'm going to do some bottom picking because, stock market always wins to the upside, then this is a very low risk, potentially bullish space for you to take a bounce intraday, not to sit down and go, hey, whatever, but they're going to cool off. Bonds, take a look at the bonds. When the bonds are down, it means the yields are up. When yields are up, it puts pressure on credit and all of the things that build a stock upwards, right? So the debt becomes more important. That's why we're seeing things like the IWM and the like just really start giving back a lot after they had themselves a rotation. So this thing is, I would not be surprised to see this pull in a little bit more. And we've got the Fed meeting beginning this afternoon, and then we've got the release tomorrow. It probably is not going to move rates again, but the language is going to be super important. So it could be super whippy tomorrow. So let's talk about a couple of super high flyers. Bloom Energy is sitting at a really, really important lines. And so why? The last earnings event, the low of that earnings candle, $267. Feels like I might, sorry about that. So if the traders cannot hold this area today as a floor, I would not be surprised to see 250 and then 225. Again, another name that's really overheated. It's got great technical strength, but it looks very overheated to me in terms of overall price action. So if we wanted to look at that and say, well, I love Bloom Energy, but I want to wait. It's got earnings on the 28th. If it loses this earnings low, notice every time it lost the earnings low, it bounced, but then came back and made another lower low, and then bounced again and made another lower low, and then bounced again. Is it going to make another lower low? My guess is yes, because it's going to cool off. And all of these energy names that were energy in the AI space, they look great, but not right now. They're in these fade spaces. The question is, do you want to go short in a market that is just massively updrafted into July seasonality? And so for me, I would say set an alert and wait. I think Zach McCracken said, hey, this move is great. It's good for us to buy the dip. The question is, where's the real dip going to hold?
Right.
And you've got to really position yourself in a space that says, well, wait a minute. If I take the trade here, what's my risk when everything seems to be fading? Is there a cheap trade? And to me, the cheap trade is going to be the Iron Condor event. And a lot of us don't love those, but this looks like a big fat Iron Condor to me. So if we were looking at that and you said, okay, whatever, show me your Iron Condor, I would choose the 220 support zone and the 320 resistance. And so I don't know how much that's going to give us in terms of maybe August. 220 to 210. Oh, it's going to give us a lot. And then 320, lot. Look at where everybody's sitting, right at that 330. That's fantastic.
We're not the only ones that see it, Anne-Marie.
Yeah. So this, look at the amount of this credit. Wow. That's almost scary big. It's giving us 3/4 of the spread. So they're expecting quite a bit of motion. Where might that go? Yeah. If you take this trade, huge. See if you can get it to go. It's sitting at relatively crowded areas in terms of open interest. If you can get it, you want to watch what happens as it comes down to the 210. You might have to roll that in that event. Okay, next one. Let's look at, and of course, I'll take anything that anyone wants to look at, but we're looking at Zscaler next.
Perfect.
And Zscaler, here's the earnings bar. There's the earnings bar. It moved up into the first rotation to the north, faded, broke the low, held it, broke the low, held it. So a lot of buying pressure sitting between 120 and 125. But here we are at resistance again. And this is a gap. And so, you know, all of these flattening out, we can see all of them flattening out. I think it makes another good iron condor. I know you're like, whatever, I hate those. But they're going to really deliver premium for you in a space where we really don't know which way the market's going to go in the near term. A lot of people are thinking, hey, you know, the dips are going to be buys. The president came out yesterday and said the market's going to go to the moon, or whatever it was exactly that he said, something to the effect of the market moving much higher. And, you know, suffice to say, he's probably talking his book. We're just, let's just say. So for Zscaler, it's been looking pretty rough. And so some people might be saying, hey, it's a cybersecurity space. There's cybersecurity, right?
Zscaler, yeah.
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 So cybersecurity space, it should be moving. Yes. It's going to be a good buy eventually, but we've got a lot of heating up, and we're seeing all these statistics that say if the first half of the year is up, then we end the whole year up. Yeah, but what about in between is the question. And so we really have to think about, wait a second, how much price action have we seen that's outsized to the upside that would still give us a bullish year if the price action bounces into the fall where the market is really supposed to be hot come October. Yeah. That's supposed to be gigantic.
So I'm almost wondering, Anne-Marie, if August, September, we get kind of like a nasty pullback, right? Those are the traditionally weak months.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see one of those outsized moves down.
My thought is that we have some zigzag patterns that keep the buyers hopeful and the sellers hopeful. Yeah. And what the market does is just grind them to ribbons, because this is what the market does.
Yep.
Right? The market goes to where
grinds them to ribbons.
It does. Well, maybe grinds them to confetti. That's probably a better one.
I know exactly. I can picture what you're talking about.
Right?
It's just I've never heard that before.
It does. It grinds them like, gears. And so my thought is that we've got ourselves sideways motion as Zscaler tries to hold a floor here, but maybe can't. And earnings August 24th, again, it looks like another iron condor. So let's see where the traders are. 140, that feels really close. I think it's closer to 115, which is up here, doesn't give us much premium at all. 115 to 110, that's 3 pennies, so nothing going there. But on the short end, 190, there's what, 2,000 here, 1,000 there. You know, you might get a short call spread. Again, the premiums are absolutely terrible here in terms of motion. I would wait until we get closer to the year. If you're thinking to yourself, hey, what's the close trade I can have now? To me, this looks like a short from, 170 to right in the middle of this earnings candle. So you could say, hey, maybe I can get a 150 to 150 to 1, and that's right on the edge right there. Whoops. 150 to 160. Yeah, Emery, that's not how you do it. 150 to 160 spread. Again, it gives you almost half, but you're sitting right at the money. I like this trade because statistically, for my own measurement with earnings candlesticks, that's what the strategy says, that it's going to stall out up here. But if you prefer something a little more conservative, you can go to the 170. That's all the way up at the top, and you can go 170 to 180 from that perspective, right? So you can go 170 to 180. And it doesn't give you very much, but it's still the trade that I think is pretty likely for us to see. I think we're going to have a really sideways summer, and leaning into the iron condors or something that gives you credit. See, most of the traders, I read a statistic yesterday. It said more people are net long than they've ever been into the end of July. And what do we know about the market? It goes to find the max pain for everyone and then pulls back. It doesn't mean that you can't time it just right. It just means that, there are definitely things that you want to pay attention to that are super important. Do you want to look at net?
Sure. Net. Trying to think if there was another one that folks asked about. Did you do an agricultural ETF as a hedge? No, Jody, I don't think we did that at any point. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything here from the chat. I don't think so. I think we can do that. I think we can go ahead with net.
So Cloudflare actually looks pretty good here. If you want to wait for the ideal structure, it's sitting right in the middle of a target zone. And so it would be better to wait for the price action to come closer to 218. And then at the 218 marker, you can take a look at going long into the support zone. But notice what it's done again with the earnings. It had the low. It's got a flat 50. So we spend as much time above it as below it in general. And so this tells us, hey, we should have ourselves a little bit of a pullback in Cloudflare. If you like it and you go, hey, I want to look at this longer term, then you could buy it now and give yourself a December expiration and do something like that. But at this juncture, the price action is saying we could easily have ourselves a fade back into the midline somewhere around 230 to 220 before it gives us a good opportunity. You know, what is the secret sauce about working with this kind of structure? It's creating alerts. And when they go off, you act on your plan, especially if you're looking at it from a daily formation. If you want to take a look at it from, say, okay, how do I trade it today? You can look at these areas and go, well, wait a second. Obviously, I'm not above 262. There's sellers there. And I've got buyers sitting at 253. My trend is up, so I'm going to wait for the dip to buy. And you pick yourself up a motion like that. Momentum is clearly telling us the higher we're going, we're not carrying momentum with us. And so, you know, there's a short up here if you're looking for it, but there's also a long at the key support levels down at those moving averages.
Okay. Got a follow up here. Were you going to go?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say CRM.
Oh, great. All right. So the storyboard has been, you know, we're back to maybe the hyperscalers, whether you think that, you know, this one is potentially one that we would look at as a hyperscaler. It's been beaten down pretty badly. And, you know, I'm not a huge fan of Salesforce only because I know how they sell their products.
Yeah.
But they have got every major bank and every major corporation basically hamstrung. And the thought process about AI is not that AI ends up being a product that you look at for itself. It ends up being integrated into these hyperscalers that then use it as its own structural support or whatever. And of course, we know, you know, a lot of people fired way too many people with the money that they've spent putting into AI, and now they've had to hire some of them back. But take a look at what's gone on for the last two earnings in CRM. They had an earnings event here. The week went okay. They lost it, fell down into the first level, and could not breach that second level support. So they held it okay. The next earnings event, they just had that 6 weeks ago, and it's fallen from that edge. It's also holding the space. I expect this to bounce into resistance. It's where software is moving again. So the SaaS guys are starting to get a little heat. I'm guessing there's going to be a measure of rotation. This one looks like a counter trend bullish event into resistance. So 200 is likely the target. The question is when, right? The question is when. And so if we're thinking, hey, 200 is the target into, oh, look, that's where everybody's sitting between 180 and 200. There's a lot of volume there. So if you're willing to spend the money, it's a pretty good trade. Now, I've had this on for a hot minute, but it doesn't expire until December for me. But this 200, this 180 to 200, if you're interested in that, you can certainly do that call spread. If you want to turn it into a butterfly, you can. There's a lot of volume there. And so, you know, it ends up being 70 cents. You just have to put that alert at that 200 level. If you've done something like that, to say, hey, wait a second, as soon as it gets there, I got to get out. no matter what it is that it's telling you, in terms of what your profit marker is, you just have to get out at that level because it'll just eat away at your profit.
Okay, good stuff there on CRM. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, there's
like, yeah, I got a long list.
There's so many of them. So I don't know if you follow Rosanna Priest.
I do. I do. I have for years. When you shared the tweet on TE, I shared that with the group because that call was so good. I do follow. She's fantastic. By the way.
She is a very, very smart cookie. Very, very smart cookie. And she is all about these guys. But again, remember what's happening with energy. There's a rotational event. All of these energy / hyperscalers in energy using AI, they're taking themselves a little bit of a breath. Side note, did you see that they are trying to use biological cells to create areas of memory in these new memory server spaces to use in AI? It's the most bizarre thing I've ever read.
They're trying to, just so I get this straight, they're trying to use organic cells as
organic
memory?
cells to hold memory as opposed to chips. Incredible. I saw it on Nautilus or something like that because I'm a science nerd. I'm always reading stuff like that.
You know what? I've heard about people speculating that you can do that with crystals.
Yeah, Rosanna actually talks about that too. So this crystal element, but in any case, this one, if you like it, great. But here are the last two earnings events, and they've moved out. Look at them, hitting right up at the top targets of these shaded areas, coming back down. The first target is going to be 596, and the next target is going to be 388. I like what she's saying about these guys, but they're going to get thrown out with the bathwater. No doubt about it. They are going to get thrown out with the bathwater. And so it's going to be better for us to position. It's going to be an incredible company, but it's going to be better for us to position using short puts. So you say, hey, listen, I'm going to go to December and I'll pick some of these up at 5. Look at them. They've got them all the way 2,000 at 2. But you can pick it up at 5 and you'd actually be getting it for 390, which is right where the support ledge is. It's just a really nice opportunity. If you're looking for something that could easily go 10x over the next couple of years, that one's great. I know I've fallen into the Tim Melvin space right here, looking for things like that. But I love TE, and I think it's got room, but it's going to have some wiggles. There's no doubt about that. It is going to have some wiggles.
So wait for the weakness then, if you like this long term.
Definitely wait for the weakness. From a daily perspective, that weakness is already showing up just a bit. It's going to try and bounce, but the floor into that earnings candle is very, very likely in my mind.
Okay. All right, good stuff there on TD. Or TE, excuse me.
You want to look at NVIDIA?
Yeah, let's do it.
We have a few minutes left.
Yeah, and actually, I will go ahead. The person that's asking here, Rosanna, let me give you her X account. I'll take care of that, Amber.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so here we are looking at NVIDIA. Lot of weakness in general. Listen, do we know that these guys are powerhouses? Yes, we do. We go backwards in time to the last earnings candle. They made 162 is what they reported. Look at where the traders are trying to stabilize. This area between 184 and 174 look pretty good as frontline support. Now, we lost the 50, bounced, could not hold the 50. We lost the 200, bounced, could not hold the 200. So we are doing mean reversion. In that mean reversion event, you might say to yourself, you know, I want to go long NVIDIA, but it might be worthwhile for me to wait until support comes or trade it into the baseline of support. You know, to me, I don't see things running off the rails for the next month or two, but I would clearly end up looking at, you know, short put spreads down here if I'm willing to acquire the stock. And if not, you know, you might say to yourself, well, I don't want to trade that right this minute, right? Because it's got a lot of things defending it. It's going to try and bounce between 185 and 190. That's really where it's sitting right now. And so if you're saying, hey, listen, I think it's going to bounce, and you want a short-term trade because you're madly in love with NVIDIA, then I would say, you know, the 190 to 200 call spread, 190, 200 call spread, it's expensive. If you want to put some money on the table, it's certainly expensive. But if you are into it, still make 100% if it moves back into the 200 area. And that's just for a short while. It's actually going to be a lot cheaper if you go, hey, by the end of July, I think it does it. If you decide you're going to do that, you want to be, again, spinning wheel of death. If you say, hey, I want to do it July 17, ooh, it's even more expensive. That's interesting. Yeah, you know, you've got some choices there. For me, I'm going to default to give myself more time. I'm just one of those people that trades options and says, hey, as long as I have time, I can do something with that.
Okay. All right, Anne-Marie, big list here today. Thanks for running it down. Really appreciate it. And guess what? We finally have a full week, so we'll see you back here on Friday.
Absolutely.
Anne-Marie's Twitter is in the chat, as is Rosanna's. Folks, have a great one. Anne-Marie, take care. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
You too.
And sorry, I didn't mean to cut her off early. We are out of time here for today. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.